Sarah is captured and unconscious. When she finally opens her eyes, confusion sets in, and she wonders if what she is experiencing is a dream. Her memory takes her back to a business trip she clearly remembers going on, yet somehow she now finds herself on a strange island she does not recognize. Fear returns as she recalls running through the forest, desperately trying to escape from someone chasing her. During that moment, she encounters unfamiliar people and quickly concludes that they are natives of the island. Someone saves her, pulling her away from danger. However, another man stands nearby, and his gaze leaves her deeply unsettled. As she becomes more aware of her surroundings, questions fill her mind. She wonders what is happening, what will become of her, and she cannot help feeling curious about the man standing in front of her. It all began when Sarah arrives at the checkpoint, where she is asked if she is checking in any luggage. She answers no, and the officers simply point her toward the gate. As she prepares to move on, her father's call comes in. He checks on her well-being, asks about work, and gently warns her not to lose this job as well, reminding her that everyone struggles at work and sometimes has to endure difficult situations. She responds with sarcasm, admitting that it will be hard to remain calm because she is on her way to confront her manager. Soon after, she begins her journey. During the trip, the tour guide casually asks if she is enjoying the sea breeze, and she confirms that she is. Earlier, she is informed that Mr. Nam has forgotten an important document. She suggests sending it by email, but she is told that he is on a remote island and can only be reached by calls. The news infuriates her, especially when she realizes there is no direct flight, and she must endure 3 layovers. Though anger pushes her to want to confront her manager, thoughts of her student loan, rent, and phone bills force her to remain patient. She knows that chartering a ride to the island is difficult, so she feels relieved when the tour guide agrees to help her. She finds him attractive, though she quickly labels him a smooth talker with a pleasant face. When he asks if she has a boyfriend, she answers no, and he praises her, calling her impressive. As they travel, she reflects on how difficult it is to travel abroad even for leisure, yet she is doing so for work. She hopes she will at least be allowed to stay at a resort and imagines relaxing at a bar by the ocean with a handsome man. When the island comes into view, she notices how small it is. The tour guide informs her that they have arrived. Remembering that Mr. Nam said he would meet her at the dock, she asks about it, only to be told that they need to walk there. Doubt immediately settles in, and she admits that this does not feel like her destination. The guide suggests spending some time together first, revealing his interest in her. Alarmed, she decides something is wrong. She jumps off the boat and runs. Darkness begins to fall as she flees, her fear intensifying when she senses someone approaching. She runs deeper into the unfamiliar forest, stumbles, and falls. When she looks up, she sees the tour guide again. He claims he only wants to talk, but she refuses to engage. He insists that she feels the same way, prompting her to scream. Before he can finish speaking, he is suddenly attacked and collapses lifelessly. Other men move closer. Soon after, she finds herself captured. Confusion overwhelms her as she wonders where she is, why she is tied up, and what happened to the people around her. A sound draws her attention, and a man with bloodstains on his body approaches. She demands that he leave her alone, but he ignores her fear, sniffing her and touching her face with unsettling curiosity. Trapped and terrified, she cries for help silently in her thoughts. The man continues to touch her gently, prompting her to question him about his actions. He suddenly observes that the blood on her body is not hers, surprising her. She realizes he understands her words and immediately pleads with him to untie her. He asks why she is tied up in such a remote place. She struggles to explain, only recalling that she had entered the forest and encountered arrows. His eyes widen in surprise, but before she can process his reaction, an arrow suddenly pierces a tree near her hand. Panic rises as she wonders whether the men have returned and fears getting caught, hoping to escape before they notice her. Before she can act, the man suddenly flees, leaving her alone as the group of men approaches. They speculate about a prior presence and debate whether to put her back to sleep. One mentions that Sehanim will arrive soon, so they decide against it. He gives another man her clothes and bags to hold and inquires whether the previous man was disposed of. He is told that the man is gone and was not from the Adu tribe. Observing the men closely, she realizes she understands every word they speak and wonders if they are a primitive tribe that speaks Korean. The men conclude that the tour guide might have been the intruder mentioned by the Sibina tribe, but note that there could be more intruders, as there was no mention of a woman. They decide to torture her to extract information. As one of the men attempts to remove her clothes, he suddenly falls. She looks up and sees the man who tried to rescue her earlier, now confronting the assailant. With swift precision, he unties her. She thanks him as he effortlessly carries her on his shoulders. Startled, she questions his actions, demanding to be put down, but he warns her that arrows will rain down and she must hold tight. True to his words, arrows begin pelting the area immediately. He leaps across the tree branches, moving with agility that makes her wonder if he is some kind of Tarzan. Meanwhile, the other men arrive at the scene but cannot locate her. Frustrated, they grab her bag and decide to head toward Kudu, assuming she will be there. The intruder finds a safe spot and sits down. She instinctively withdraws, but he pulls her close, asking if she has ever climbed a tree. She admits she hasn't, and he warns that she will fall if she doesn't stay still. She tries to push him away, but touches the wounds on his chest, immediately questioning if it hurts. He takes her hand and places it on his chest, explaining that her touch eases the pain. She confirms that he is an outsider, though she cannot shake the strange feelings from being with a nearly naked man. She asks if he knows how to get to the shore, and he warns that it would be dangerous as they would be crossing the UAPI tribe's territory, the very group that had tied her up. When she asks if he is part of the tribe, he simply nods negatively. Frustration and suspicion fill her mind. Though he has helped her, she cannot fully trust him. He decides they must escape the forest immediately once darkness falls. After some time, he opens his eyes and notices she is gone, touching his chest and feeling the wound anew. On her part, she pauses, observing the blood that seems to follow her today, realizing she constantly attracts danger. She wonders how she can survive and doubts whether the man would have accompanied her if she had asked, concluding that she cannot trust anyone in this place. She recalls her recent solo travels around the world, taking comfort in that memory, and decides to pretend she is on a vacation for the moment. Thinking strategically, she resolves to follow the coastline in hopes of spotting the boat, keeping in mind that she might need to call for rescue. She considers the chaos back home, imagining the deputy and head manager going frantic due to her absence. Suddenly, her attention is drawn to something ahead. She parts the thick leaves and her eyes fall upon a large building, sparking her curiosity. Sarah pauses before the large building, her curiosity piqued. She wonders if it is an ancient temple. Indonesia is known for its countless temples, yet this one does not appear abandoned. It seems well kept, perhaps even a tourist attraction visited by many, though she is unsure. Despite her caution, she decides to take a closer look inside. The sun has already set, and she reasons that it would be safer to explore indoors, away from the shadows of the forest and the possible threat of wild animals. Climbing the high, steep stairs proves challenging, and as she reaches for the door, a voice stops her. It sounds distinctly feminine, and fear rises within her. She fights against the thought that it could be a ghost, but then a shadowed hand presses against her body, preventing her from calling out. Relief floods her as she realizes it is the man who saved her earlier. He warns her not to go inside, explaining that she will seem like an outsider if she enters without permission. The tribes in the forest never step inside without the approval of Kudu and the Kudu chief. Sarah questions why he has followed her and makes it clear that she will not tolerate any inappropriate actions. He asks why she ran away, but she refuses to answer, instead thanking him for saving her earlier and insisting that he leave her be from now on. He lifts her and suggests they leave the building together, but she tells him to put her down. With a small leap, he sets her on the stairs and instructs her to find her own way down. She feels annoyed, thinking he is mocking her. He again warns her not to enter, and she snaps back that she does not even belong here, explaining that she fled earlier because the building feels safer than being by his side. He appears frustrated, wondering why he is entangled with a stranger irrelevant to him. In his own thoughts, he recalls being captured and inquiring about Tiaria, only to be told by Rayax that she is no more, and that it was the will of the god Kudu. The words sting him deeply. Meanwhile, Sarah chastises herself silently for feeling relief simply by meeting Shaka for a brief moment. Unexpectedly, he is back atop the stairs. He observes that, considering the time, no one would dare enter the building now, making it relatively safe for them. He explains that the temple can only be entered during a full moon, with approval from each tribe's chief. Curious, Sarah asks about its purpose. He tells her that it is a place for the creation of children, where during the full moon, men and women from each tribe gather, and those recognized by Kudu are blessed with children. She wonders if there are hidden rooms inside, but he admits he does not know, as it is also his first time entering. Surprised, she cannot believe that he hasn't entered before, since he appears mature, but he assures her that he is well past his coming of age and insists she should not concern herself with that. After a short pause, he opens the door. Sarah notes to herself that merely by looking at him, he seems dangerous, yet she feels a sense of safety now that she is no longer alone. He instructs her to wait while he enters first. After some moments, she steps inside. Shaka scans the room and notices a peculiar energy, turning around to see her. Panting, she reaches for him. Startled, he attempts to step back, but falls. He is surprised by her sudden strength and cannot resist as she continues to touch him. Each time her hand brushes his body, he feels his strength draining away. His surprise deepens when she begins to kiss him. He feels stunned and dizzy, powerless to resist her advances. Sarah struggles to make sense of her surroundings, her mind clouded with confusion. She cannot tell if she is dreaming or awake, and the lingering fog in her head intensifies her unease. Voices reach her ears from somewhere nearby, and she strains to understand the discussion, but the noise only grows louder, forcing her to shut her ears and retreat inward. Panic threatens to overwhelm her. Slowly, consciousness fully returns, and she realizes with a jolt that she is inside the temple. Her body reacts before her mind can process the situation. She quickly pulls herself away from Shaka, confused and unsure why she had ended up in such close proximity to him. Thoughts race through her mind. She senses a strange, unsettling vibe, the same heavy, oppressive feeling that had engulfed her when she first entered the forest. Her body suddenly feels weighty, and a sense of disorientation takes hold. She questions her own sanity, recalling the kiss she had shared with him moments earlier. Doubt and embarrassment collide in her thoughts, but concern quickly rises as she wonders if Shaka is all right. She explains silently that she experienced a sudden bout of vertigo, thinking her lips may have landed on his by accident. Without warning, Shaka pulls her down again. Confusion and alarm surge through her, and she instinctively questions why he is acting this way. She attempts to push him away, yet her body betrays her, her heart hammering uncontrollably against her chest. The intensity of the moment overwhelms her senses as he continues to caress her, moving with deliberate care and attention. The air between them thickens, charged with a mix of tension, fear, and unspoken emotion. Abruptly, he stops, breaking the spell of the moment. He leans close, his voice firm yet gentle, instructing her to hold on. Standing alone for a moment, Shaka reflects on the events that just unfolded. He notices an unfamiliar heat rising from his stomach to his head, a sensation that makes his body move almost of its own accord, as if it were being pulled by Sora. He admits to himself that his actions were not entirely his own will, a realization that leaves him momentarily unsettled. Meanwhile, Sora cups her head, trying to process her own thoughts. She questions how she could be thinking about a man like him in such a place. Recalling his earlier words about the temple's purpose, she realizes that both of them were affected by the temple's energy, an invisible force influencing their actions. Her awareness sharpens as she notices him standing directly in front of her. Without hesitation, he quickly carries her, explaining that he has found a safe place for her to bathe. When they arrive, he assures her the water is shallow, but she questions whether he intends to remain there the whole time. He insists that he cannot leave her alone, warning that animals hunt at night. Sora reflects that she has already seen so much today and recalls from television that some tribes do not hold strong taboos against nudity. Nonetheless, she finds it impolite to be watched and suggests that he stay behind a rock, promising to call out if anything goes wrong. She adds that their earlier encounter was influenced by the temple, prompting him to ask for clarification. She reminds him of his own words. The temple is a place where children are made. Pondering this, she questions his understanding of intimacy. She asks him how babies are made. He responds that Kudu gives babies, explaining that they come from the sky, since they are of spirit origin. Sora suppresses a laugh, amused by his literal answer. He notices her reaction and asks why she is laughing, but she remains silent, joking that babies are delivered by a stork from the skies, before telling him to leave her to bathe. Stepping into the water, she begins her bath, her thoughts drifting to the idea of posting online about her jungle escape during a business trip, imagining it might become a viral story. Her mind then wanders back to the moment Shaka walked away earlier, realizing that he was likely searching for a place to bathe himself the whole time. Despite his appearance and mannerisms, she acknowledges that he does not seem to intend any harm, and resolves to trust him from this point onward. At that moment, she realizes she does not know his name. Determined to learn more about him, she decides to question him about his earlier mention of being on the run. Suddenly, she hears a sound and glances back, noticing his presence despite her instruction not to look. A hand grabs hers firmly, reminding her that he will not be as gentle as last time. With a grip on her hand, he confirms that he got her. Sora confronts the man holding her, demanding to know who he is. He replies that it would be better if she comes quietly, but she refuses, insisting that she is only there by accident and that she will explain everything if he lets her go. He shakes his head, claiming he cannot release her. He reveals that she is the special one who will help him reach the spirit realm. Confused, Sora has no idea what he means and wonders whether he is from a different tribe. He observes that she seems surprisingly ordinary but is eager to discover if that is truly the case. His manner is rough, pressing his advantage, making her wary and tense. Shortly, Shaka arrives. With swift precision, he confronts the man and deals with him, ultimately carrying Sora to safety. The man questions Shaka's identity, noting from his build that he must be an Atu. Sora, meanwhile, wonders if the men belong to the UAPI tribe. Shaka demands to know why they are present, reminding them that no tribe is allowed in this area at the moment. The man ignores his questions, instead asking how Shaka knows the woman. He hands her dress back and explains that, Although the Uzapis are generally hostile to outsiders, the woman is merely lost. Sora silently thanks the gods, feeling a small relief. Shaka asserts that he will escort her safely out of the forest and instructs the Uzapis to leave her alone. The man steps forward, stating that Sora is not an ordinary woman. He explains that Shaka, though an Atu, is currently a scapegoat, meant to be sacrificed to Kudan at sunrise. He points his bow and arrow at Shaka, and the younger man, confused, asks what he means. The man is surprised that Shaka is unaware, questioning whether someone of his size has not yet come of age. He observes that Shaka lacks the traditional features all Atu men possess, explaining his ignorance. He continues, recounting how, when they were young, the Uzapis were told they could enter Kudu only during a full moon. They later discovered the harsh truth. When the moon is not full, scapegoats condemned by Kudu are sacrificed to feed Kudan, a massive bird as foolish and enormous as the Atus themselves. Shaka had narrowly escaped that fate, but now faces their arrows. He realizes that he cannot attack, as there are too many of them. Sora intervenes, telling them to wait, offering to go with them willingly. Shaka objects, but she reminds him that he had preferred to avoid the Uzapis, and that he should leave while she takes care of herself. In his thoughts, the man acknowledges that eliminating Shaka would provoke trouble with the Atu, and he prefers to avoid unnecessary conflict. With Sora coming willingly, they no longer need to worry about Shaka. Sora reflects inwardly, scared but aware that this might be her chance to leave the island. She notes that because she is special, the leader will not harm her immediately, and that they have her belongings. The Uzapis live near the sea, and her priority is to reach the beach and find a boat to escape and call for help. Before departing, she asks the man for his name, explaining that she wants to know the name of the person who helped her. He responds, and she introduces herself as Sora, thanking him for everything and noting that he no longer needs to assist her. Shaka notes that now the Uzapi tribe has seen him, Liax will likely find out soon. He struggles with what to do next, unwilling to get caught immediately, but also not wanting to waste time on the outsider. Despite this, he finds it difficult to turn away from Sora. As she walks closer to the group, panic rises within her. She fears whether she can truly escape and feels her heart racing. Shaka hurries to reach her, but arrows fly toward him before he can get to her. He falls to the ground, the impact jarring, and Sora's mind races. She wonders if he had been trying to save her, and if so, why he would put himself in danger for her sake. Her thoughts spin as the situation unfolds. The man holding her grabs her hand, urging her to move quickly. He instructs his men to take care of the fallen body, and only then does Sora fully realize what has happened. Guilt floods her as she believes it is her fault. She shouts at them to wait, reminding them of their promise to let him live if she came with them. Her voice shakes as she questions why they eliminated him regardless. They respond coldly, saying he attacked first and that the gods decide who lives or dies. The man had merely hastened his own fate. Sora feels panic rising in her chest, and the man grips her firmly, warning her not to resist. He emphasizes that all he needs is for her to stay alive. In her mind, Sora berates herself, realizing that she should have known better. She does not want to be unalive, and terror courses through her veins. The man's thoughts shift to her, studying the small, seemingly frail woman trembling before him. He wonders if she truly is the one the elders spoke of. Doubt gnaws at him, questioning whether he should have listened to those old men. But if their words are true, he needs her. Even if he must carry her with him to ensure her safety, he resolves to keep her close. Alone and desperate, Sora seizes a fleeting chance. She flings a knife at him, hoping to create an opening for escape. Meanwhile, at the other end, his men struggle to follow his orders. They mutter among themselves, mocking Shaka as a fool, and claiming that the Adus are all brawn and no brains. One scoffs at how he dared run at Lord Saihan while arrows were drawn. Then, shock spreads as one of the men notices Shaka rising to his feet, standing again despite the fall. They cannot believe it. Saihan grabs Sora's hand, feeling the tremor of her fear. He questions how she dared attempt to stab him, his tone sharp yet curious. He warns her that she should pray she truly is special. Sora hesitates, asking whether he is certain he will not regret anything if she really is the one he speaks of. He glances in surprise just as one of his men comes running toward him, reporting a problem. Sora seizes the moment, her heart pounding, and begins to run, taking the chance to escape. Saihan waves the man away, telling him to stay quiet, as the immediate threat is irrelevant. The arrival of Kudan demands attention. Sora's breath catches as the massive entity approaches. Saihan, observing her fear, wonders aloud if Kudan smells blood. Before she can react, Kudan grabs Sora, lifting her into the air. She struggles, unable to comprehend the enormity of the creature. Saihan falls backward in the chaos, while the man questions if he is alright. He assures him to ignore it, handing him back the bow. High above the ground, Sora cannot believe what she is seeing. Kudan soars, taking her far from the forest and the island she thought she knew. The land below appears vast, stretching far beyond her memory of the small island. Water surrounds it, but it is larger than she had ever imagined. As she tries to make sense of the sight, a chilling realization hits her. This is not the island she thought it was, and everything she believed about the surroundings is now in question. Someone approaches Lord Liax cautiously. He apologizes for the intrusion and admits that he has information he must relay. Lord Liax immediately inquires whether he has seen Shaka. The man shakes his head, explaining that he has not, noting that with Shaka's wound, it would have been impossible for him to go far. More concerning, he continues, another tribe may have entered Kudu's lands. Lord Liax presses for details, demanding to know which tribe, but the man admits he cannot be certain. High above, Saihan watches Kudan from the safety of a tree. He asks Sogi for an arrow, and Sogi, startled, questions whether he truly intends to use it. Saihan responds calmly that Sogi should remain silent, explaining that the arrow will fall near Kudan and instructing him to wait at a distance. Sogi hesitates, worried about the presence of the Atu man, but he doubts that Shaka would follow them this far. Meanwhile, Sora reflects on her life, trying to find normalcy amidst the chaos. She had grown up in a typical family, with a normal childhood, and though her parents' strictness often led her to cry, she adapted quickly. Her school life was unremarkable, filled with ordinary friendships and daily routines. Work had always been challenging, but she had learned to control her temper, except for the one time she had truly stood up to her first boss, earning her father's rebuke. Since then, she had been careful, keeping her temper in check until arriving on this strange island. She reminds herself even now that this is not truly an island. Back in the trees, Saihan readies his bow and arrow, aiming at the massive Kudan. He muses that the forest elders might call the creature the envoy of Kudu, but he will not allow anyone who steals his prey to live. With steady hands, he releases the arrow. It strikes Kudan at its feet, and immediately the creature releases Sora. She plummets through the air, a mix of fear and relief coursing through her. She had hoped that escaping might allow her to treat the events as nothing more than an unpleasant memory. Saihan, determined, readies more arrows, preparing to continue his attack. Suddenly, Shaka appears, shocking him with his unexpected arrival. Without hesitation, Shaka attacks, forcing Saihan to react. As Saihan falls, he manages to grab a tree branch, his grip steady despite the chaos. He courses Shaka with his eyes, surprised that he did not sense anyone climbing the tree. The realization hits him. Shaka must have reached the top in a single, astonishing leap. High above, Sarah's eyes widen as Kudan moves closer, its intent clear. She wonders if the creature is trying to catch her, and panic floods her thoughts. In a split-second decision, she concludes that letting herself fall might be her only option. Before she can descend fully, Shaka catches her. Sora's mind races as she notices Kudan still approaching them. She glances at Shaka, astonished, questioning how he had managed to jump so high. The creature's claws swipe violently, scratching Shaka as he spins to avoid the next strike. But before they can react further, Kudan snatches them both in a brutal, powerful grip. Sora immediately notices Shaka bleeding, his injuries raw, and realizes he isn't responding. He remains mute, seemingly unable to process or communicate. Panic surges through her as she understands she may need to take matters into her own hands. Determined, Sora decides to remove the arrow lodged in Kudan's foot, reasoning that freeing it might force the creature to release them. She reaches carefully for the arrow, her heart pounding with fear. As soon as her fingers make contact, Kudan pecks her violently, tearing at her skin. She slumps in pain, but Shaka's arms remain firm, holding her close with unyielding strength despite his own injuries. Using all his effort, Shaka manages to remove the creature's claw that holds them, and they begin to fall. The wind rushes past them as they descend, and moments later, they crash onto a rooftop. The impact jars them, but they survive. Shaka, momentarily disoriented, questions aloud why Kudu is there and why the creature is holding her. His memory feels fractured. He cannot recall what happened after he was struck by the arrow. As he carefully places Sora down, concern floods his expression. He asks if she is all right, urging her to wake up. Her breathing is shallow and the wound she sustains is deep, leaving him unsettled. After a moment, he decides to carry her inside, shielding her from further danger. He notes that she is still alive, but the severity of her injuries demands immediate attention. He struggles to determine how to treat her, recalling that when she had previously placed her hand on him, his own injuries had healed miraculously. Hesitant but desperate, Shaka attempts the same method, placing her hand against hers to channel the same energy. Blood continues to seep heavily from her wounds, but to his dismay, the bleeding does not stop. He leans closer, kissing her in an attempt to save her, yet no improvement occurs. Frustration, fear, and helplessness surge through him as he realizes the severity of her condition. He cannot save her using what he knows. Just as he contemplates his next move, the sound of someone entering startles him. He immediately recognizes the presence, noting that he had told the person not to come inside. Shaka leans closer to Sora to check her heartbeat. Relief floods him as he confirms that it is not too late yet. She is still alive. Determined, he decides to go find something that could help her recover fully. The person who had entered earlier watches silently from nearby, stepping closer to observe her. She notes the remarkable change Sora has undergone since entering the forest. She is brimming with energy and potential, radiating something powerful. The observer wonders if Sora is truly the one Kudu has been searching for. Yet, as she touches Sora lightly, she acknowledges the limits of what she can do. Even with her intervention, it does not guarantee Sora will survive. Meanwhile, Saihan's frustration boils over. He demands that Sogi explain how Shaka is still alive. Sogi hesitates, then recounts that Shaka suddenly rose and attacked them, catching them all off guard. Saihan presses further, questioning if the others survived, but Sogi is unsure. Saihan's disbelief grows. He cannot comprehend how Sogi ran off without knowing the fate of his comrades. Sogi pleads for forgiveness, explaining that he believed it was urgent to alert her immediately. Saihan, cold and calculating, declares that he will hunt the girl and commands Sogi to clean up the aftermath before anyone discovers the chaos. He instructs him to retrieve her belongings as well, noting that he did not anticipate Shaka surviving or moving with such skill. Sogi, moving cautiously, returns to the spot where he had left his comrades and discovers that they are indeed alive. He plans to relocate them before collecting items, but the sound of movement prompts him to act swiftly, taking anything that could be useful. Elsewhere, the mysterious girl speaks directly to Shaka, introducing herself as Sora. Her presence startles him, though he notices her calm demeanor. She expresses relief at seeing him alive and questions if he is surprised. Shaka asks how she knew, and she assures him to relax, noting that even her father is unaware of her presence. She directs him to follow her if he is seeking the short-haired woman, leading him to an abandoned tent. Though the tent is far from clean, she believes it is safer for Sora than staying in Kudu's territory. Shaka rushes inside, relieved to see Sora healed. He questions her about how this occurred, and she responds evasively, asking him to forget it. She probes where he plans to go next, but anticipates he will not tell her. She reassures him that she will not disclose his presence to her father, and wishes for him to leave the forest safely. Shaka, perplexed, asks why she is helping him. Sora clarifies that she is helping Sora, not him, reinforcing her focus on the girl's safety. Shaka enters the tent, checking Sora once more. Her heartbeat is steady, her breathing normal. She is truly out of immediate danger. He observes her closely, a mix of relief and wonder crossing his face as he realizes he still does not fully understand who Sora is. Sora slowly wakes up, blinking against the dim light filtering into the tent. Her hand reaches instinctively for her phone, checking it to remind herself of the day ahead. As she realizes she's holding it, a jolt of confusion runs through her. Her bag and coat are neatly placed nearby, and she wonders why they are there. She rises carefully, stepping out of the tent and scanning her surroundings. Curiosity and caution mingle in her mind as she decides to go closer to the water. At the edge of the clearing, she spots Shaka. Instantly, she ducks behind a tree, her heart pounding. She hadn't intended to peek, but hiding brings a twinge of guilt. Despite this, her curiosity pushes her to observe him. She notices her dress is laid out and wonders aloud if he was the one who brought them back. Shaka confirms, explaining that they were still wet, soaked in blood, and he had washed them. Her eyes widen in shock as she questions whose blood it was. Kudan's, he replies simply. Sora hesitates, her thoughts racing. She asks what happened to the bird, but Shaka admits that he doesn't remember everything after it caught them. He seems incredulous that she cannot recall her wound. He reassures her that Kudan is gone and explains that she fainted when the creature grabbed them, sleeping the entire day. She blinks in disbelief, her mind piecing together fragments of memory. A fleeting worry crosses her mind. Did he undress her? She dismisses it almost immediately, reasoning that he didn't even know how babies are made. Doubt gives way to relief, and she acknowledges silently that he did help her. Curiosity flickers again. She asks if he had made the leaf hut, and he confirms, adding that he is heading there now. She responds that she will return once her clothes are dry, turning her attention to herself. Squatting by the water, she checks her phone again, noting there is still no signal. The realization settles in. She is on a remote island after all. Yet something nags at her mind. It doesn't feel like an island anymore. Slowly, she pieces it together, concluding that the UAPI tribe must have taken her to a much larger land while she was unconscious during her capture. Her thoughts wander further, pondering whether such a massive bird as Kudan could exist on Earth. A cold shiver of fear creeps through her, and she admits to herself that she has lost hope of escaping this place. She glances at her wet clothes and notes the overwhelming humidity, realizing they will take forever to dry. She heads back to the tent, finding Shaka waiting outside. He hands her something to eat, and she thanks him quietly, beginning to eat while savoring the moment. As she chews, she realizes she hadn't noticed how hungry she truly was. Memories flash through her mind. Encounters with the tour guide, the psycho UAPI leader. A woman's image surfaces in her recollections, but she cannot place who it was. Shaka gives her something else to drink, and slowly she begins to feel a small sense of trust forming toward him. Despite this, a question lingers in her mind. Did they have to sleep together? Sarah feels a wave of unease, wondering if she is the only one uncomfortable. Her eyes drift over Shaka, and she notices a scar on his chest. Her memory sparks, the moment Kudan's claw had pierced him. Instinctively, she reaches out to touch it, but jerks her hand away immediately, startled by the sensation. Shaka's voice cuts through her thoughts, questioning what she is doing. She tries to explain, but he interrupts, telling her not to touch him. She hesitates, then accepts his warning, though curiosity lingers. He assures her it's nothing serious, and she wonders briefly if he was asleep all this time. Confusion mixes with caution as she questions why he is helping her. He answers simply that they just met and are both on the run. She frowns, trying to understand why he would risk his life for her. He explains that as an outsider, she knows nothing about the place, and that the area instructed him to assist people like her. Sarah's brow furrows at the name, and she asks who Thearia is. He responds that she is the chief of the Adu tribe. Sarah guesses aloud that all tribes might be like the UAPI, who seemed hostile toward outsiders. A pang of fear passes through her as she admits she isn't sure she will make it out alive, but she thanks him anyway, noting that his help has made things bearable. For a brief moment, she tries to ease the tension. She requests that he sit up for a while, noticing that the wounds on his chest have vanished. Shaka pushes her away gently. She questions his action, and he reminds her once more not to touch him. He adds that he doesn't understand why her touch affects him, and that it has been this way for some time. Sarah's mind wanders briefly to curiosity about his tribe. Didn't they teach him anything about intimacy? She doesn't think he's pretending. He seems genuinely flustered. Ignoring his resistance, she touches him again, insisting that he shouldn't push her away. She tells him she will show him what he needs to do and takes the lead. The moment is intimate, charged with tension, and yet unspoken understanding flows between them. Afterward, she decides to step outside, but he leans on her slightly, a reminder of his presence and strength. Meanwhile, Sora moves silently among the trees, watching from a distance. The quiet is broken suddenly as Sora is caught. She demands to know why they are doing this, insisting to be put down immediately. The men remark in surprise that she has been caught, and she asks indignantly if they think she is a monkey. One of the men turns his attention to her, questioning about Shaka. Inside the tent, Sarah notices Shaka's breathing growing heavier, each inhale seeming to press down with the weight of his body. The tension in the small space makes her heart beat faster. Gently, she touches his face, murmuring for him to hold on. Her mind whirls with curiosity. Why does the atmosphere feel so charged even though they aren't in Kudu? She hesitates only for a moment, then leans forward and kisses him, wanting to see how he would react. Shaka pulls back abruptly, questioning why she keeps kissing him. Sarah, slightly amused, asks if she's done it before. He reminds her of Kudu, and she clarifies that it wasn't her own doing but the temple's energy influencing them. He remarks that the kiss feels weird. Curious, Sarah asks if he doesn't like it. He responds simply, no. She nods, stating she won't do it again. Before she can settle, he grabs her with a firm hold and explains that it only feels weird when she kisses him. Sarah presses again, questioning if he likes it at all. He kisses her in response, then asks if the fact that he doesn't want to stop means he likes it. She murmurs that it probably does. A slow smile crosses his face as he suggests they continue. Sarah wonders silently if he truly understands the effect his actions could have on a woman. They continue, the space between them charged with unspoken desire, until Sarah pauses for a moment. She thinks to herself that what comes next is obvious, her thoughts flickering between caution and curiosity, Meanwhile, far away, Soria finds herself under pressure from the men holding her. They demand she reveal Shaka's whereabouts. One of the men, trying to calm the group, reminds them that they dragged her there. She might need a moment, and it's possible she doesn't know where Shaka is. But the others insist, certain she must know. Fear tightens Soria's chest, yet she affirms that she does know where he is, and that Shaka hasn't been caught. They press her further, asking if he told her anything. She responds that he is quiet by nature and wouldn't speak much. Sampo steps forward, confirming whether she helped Shaka escape. Someone curses the question, asking why she would ever do such a thing. Soria admits that she only followed because she happened to see him running. They demand to know if she's informed Liax. She insists she hasn't even been near her father's house, adding that Gusti brought her to the village the moment she arrived. One of the men wonders aloud if Shaka is all right, noting that he heard he was badly injured. Soria freezes, questioning to herself if he truly was hurt. The man expresses frustration, saying he should have gone to check on Shaka regardless of Liax's orders, and guesses that Shaka doesn't know that Thiaria is dead. Soria is shocked, unable to believe it. Thiaria, unalive? But the men press, demanding the location of Shaka immediately. They remind her that he's been isolated for so long and may be unaware of how much all the tribes have changed. Ashar adds that there are countless things their male lead needs to know. Another voice interrupts, insisting it's enough, declaring that Soria won't reveal anything and stating that she hates Shaka and Thiaria. For a long moment, Soria struggles with disbelief. Thiaria is gone, yet she makes a decision. Reluctantly, she agrees to reveal where Shaka is, but she imposes a condition. The men must bring the woman he is with to her. Only then does she spill the truth. Shaka is with a woman at the moment. Still in the act, Shaka pushes her away, noting that it's stirring him up even more. Sarah, noting his restraint, thinks to herself that this is what she should expect from a pure person. Her own desire simmers, and though she considers stopping, she finds herself in the mood. She reminds herself to snap out of it, yet she continues, giving herself permission to explore. Directing him, she instructs Shaka on how to satisfy her, remembering it's been a while since she experienced such closeness. Since she wants to know what it feels like with him, she gives him the go-ahead. Shortly after, Shaka wraps her coat around her and carries her to the waterside. He instructs her to remove her clothes so he can wash them, explaining that they're dirty. Embarrassed, Sarah hesitates, questioning whether she really has to stay with him. He sets to work lighting a fire, while she returns with a lighter to ignite the wood. Observing her peculiar ways, he comments on her strange behavior, then pauses, worried that someone might notice the fire. She reassures him that no one would find them tonight and that they can leave in the morning. He remarks that he's only ever heard stories about outsiders, yet she is far stranger than he imagined. She counters silently in her mind that perhaps she is the weird one, thinking of the moment he leapt high enough to save her from the flying bird. The sheer impossibility of it still puzzles her. Shaka, calm but still reflective, admits he doesn't remember much, only that he was shot by a UAPI, and suddenly he found himself holding her atop Kudu. Sarah remarks on his miraculous wound healing. He explains that it started regenerating the first time she touched him. Surprised, she comments that his body is strange. He questions if he is the weird one, but she counters, noting that everything since her arrival on the island has been strange. Curious about her background, he questions what her tribe is like and whether they are similar to the UAPI. He explains that tribes vary, each with distinct cultures and lifestyles. Sarah, however, senses something ominous, noting that he seems to belong to a scary tribe as well. His past, being on the run and sustaining serious injuries, supports her suspicion. He responds that his people used to be peaceful, but she presses him on the moment of their flight. He explains that if they were ever caught, the tribe would eliminate them on sight, a stark reminder of the dangers surrounding them both. Sarah echoes what Shaka said, then curiously asks if his chief is really that scary, wondering if Thiaria was the one who instructed him to help outsiders in need. Shaka begins to answer, intending to tell her who Thiaria is, but pauses, remarking that it's best if they don't run into her or anyone else from the tribe. Sarah, insistent, asks what he was going to say. She wonders if his quietness is natural or if he's just socially awkward. Unbothered, he asks where she is from. Sarah hesitates, thinking how to explain her journey. Should she say she came from Korea by plane, or that she traveled by boat and plane from Jakarta? She quickly dismisses the thought, realizing that this place doesn't even seem to exist in the world she knows. Shaka notes that she's keeping him hanging, and she responds that everyone has things they'd rather not discuss, and promises to stop asking. Curious and slightly frustrated, Sarah asks why people are after him. Shaka admits that he doesn't know. Upset, she tells him to spill it if he doesn't want to talk to her. He repeats that he truly doesn't know, and explains that he has been confined in a cave since childhood. The sun rose and set hundreds of times, yet he remained imprisoned, never told why. Sora asks if the Atu tribe is his family, and he confirms that everyone in the Atu tribe is considered his family. She wonders if all Atu children are raised by the whole village. Sora then questions how he escaped. Shaka reveals that the rope around his neck was cut when he woke up, allowing him to flee. She reflects that being locked up since childhood explains his naivety, realizing he doesn't seem scary anymore. Even if she were to let her guard down, it would be too much. Yet she doubts she'll ever see him again once she escapes. Considering the danger of the UAPI hunting her, she concludes that asking Shaka for help would be too risky, as it could endanger him. Shaka tries to reassure her with a simple, "Hey," but quickly tells her not to worry. Internally, he calculates his next move. He must reach Tatira lands, but to do so, he has to cross Atu territory and the Tuk River. He's unsure if he can make it alone, much less with someone else. He wonders whether Sora could survive on her own. He then mentions that he took the cloth he is wearing from the UAPI. Sora, amused, affirms she knows, and imagines one of the UAPI men is now left naked, finding the thought hilarious. The next morning, while walking, Sora remarks that she needs shoes because her feet hurt. She checks her phone, trying to see how long her battery might last. Her GPS shows her floating in the middle of the ocean, confirming it won't work. She opens her compass app, recalling that her dad had taught her how to use a map and compass in case she got stranded. Still, she can't remember a thing about her route. She wonders which direction Shaka is heading and feels a pang of guilt for leaving without a proper goodbye. Suddenly, she hears a noise and wonders if it's a wild animal. To her relief, it's Shaka. He emerges and questions if she's lost or if she's been running. She asks how he managed to find her. Shaka answers simply that he followed her footprints. Before she can react, he pulls her down gently and examines her foot, pointing out that it's bleeding. Startled, she withdraws her leg and questions why he followed her at all. He explains that she disappeared, then adds a brief apology. She hadn't expected him to worry about that. She clarifies that she didn't run away and she isn't lost. She only left earlier because their destinations are different. She admits that she doesn't want to ask him for help because staying around him puts him in danger. To reassure him, she insists that she's safe and has tools that can help her survive, telling him he doesn't need to worry about her. With that, she starts walking away. As she moves, she notices he isn't saying anything. It bothers her more than she expects. Deciding not to leave things awkward, she turns back and takes his hand, explaining that people shake hands to say farewell. She asks if he has nothing to say, then lets go and continues on her way. She soon realizes that he isn't watching her leave and isn't following her either. That realization makes her feel unexpectedly bad. As she walks, she admits to herself that she won't learn how to take care of herself if someone is always helping her. She reasons that ideas like a dimensional shift or time slip are far too unrealistic. It makes more sense that this place is simply isolated from the modern world. There are still native tribes unknown to modern civilization, and the Kudan is probably just a large, undiscovered bird. That explanation feels more believable. Her thoughts drift to home. She wonders if her boss has contacted her dad and whether he'd already be on the first flight if that were the case. She reassures herself that her friends are used to her going off the grid, so they likely won't panic over not hearing from her. She makes a quiet promise to herself that she will get out of this place alive, no matter what. The humidity becomes unbearable, growing heavier with each step. She recalls her trip to Jeju Island during the summer, remembering how the air became more humid near the mountains. She concludes that it's probably noon, which explains the oppressive heat. Then, suddenly, she steps on something hidden in the grass and screams, freezing in place for a moment. Anger follows quickly. She vows to make the UAPI pay for dragging her into this mess. Regret sets in as she realizes she should have asked for directions before heading out alone. Exhausted, she lies flat on the ground and half-jokingly wishes the Kudan would carry her into the sky so she could at least see where she's going. She considers turning back to where Shaka was. She closes her eyes. When she opens them again, she's startled to see someone standing in front of her. It's Shaka. He lifts her up effortlessly. She demands to know why he's still following her. He answers that her feet are already injured. Her skin is too thin, and continuing like this will only hurt her more. He adds that she could easily be eaten by wild animals. She asks if he's looking for a fight. After a pause, he admits that he thought about it and came to a conclusion. She needs him. She asks when he is going to put her down. Shaka responds bluntly that if he did, she would just run away. She reminds him that he had said he can't help her properly because he's on the run himself, but he simply points out that he's been helping her anyway. She exhales and admits to herself that it would be a lie to say she doesn't need help. She had thought she could rely on him for a while, even if she still doesn't fully trust him, or anyone else, for that matter. Shaka warns her that the dangers in the forest are more numerous than she thinks. She asks if he's trying to scare her, but he calmly explains that many beasts prey on humans there. Living in the moss forest has taught them that during the rainy season, rivers flood, and the animals tend to search for higher ground. He then questions why she came this way, noting that she had intended to reach the beach. She explains that her tool had pointed her in that direction. He reveals that his own destination is the Tatira lands. Before he was imprisoned the day prior, the area had given him an important instruction. If anything ever happened to her, he should leave Stew territory and head to the Tatira tribe, where someone would help him. He explains that the Tatira tribe lives across the river near the continent, and they are known to interact with outsiders. However, he isn't sure if the person Thearia mentioned is still there, since he has been locked away for so long. Despite that uncertainty, he reassures her that the Tatira can likely help her because of their contact with outsiders. He suggests that if she agrees, they can travel there together. And that sitting a short distance away, she considers the proposal. She realizes that the place they're on isn't the island she had originally landed on, but rather an island near Indonesia. If the Tatira communicate with a continent nearby, going with Shaka seems like her best chance at survival. She reflects on the trust she might place in him, remembering their shared experiences and the moments when he saved her. Ultimately, she decides to accept his offer. She tells him she'll go with him, and he acknowledges it, though she immediately adds that he doesn't need to help her with every little thing. She can manage on her own. Shaka notes that if she wants to walk on her own, they need to retrieve her shoes. He suggests going to the pound near Kudu, where she had left them. She expresses concern about the danger of the area, but he explains while drawing a rough map on the ground. Through his map, she learns there is another tribe nearby. He adds that there are even more tribes across the mountains. Their plan is to go to Kudu first to get her shoes, then hurry toward the river. Until then, she must bear being carried by him for a while, and she reluctantly accepts. Before moving out, they decide to find a cave to take shelter, as rain clouds gather overhead. Shaka searches, and they manage to enter just as the rain begins. She notices that his body had been slightly shaking when they arrived, and she wonders if he's truly recovered from earlier exertion. After a moment of silence, he quietly asks if she could come closer to him. Sora questions why he wants her to come closer. Shaka simply tells her to sit near him. She senses something strange in him, but he denies it. Curious, she wonders if he's feeling shy. In her mind, she scolds herself. They shouldn't have been intimate before because being close like this feels awkward every time, and she silently vows never again. Shaka requests that she show him her foot, noting that he collected some herbs along the way. She realizes that sticking with him might have been the right choice after all. He asks if she feels sick. She says no, and he comments that her feet are wet from the rain. She agrees that it's probably because of the downpour. Feeling a bit cold, she touches his hand. Warm, comforting, and surprisingly strong. And she can't help feeling a twinge of jealousy. Not long after, he pulls his hand away. She asks what's wrong, and he tells her not to touch his hand. She wonders if he fears she might disappear again after they shook hands, but he remains silent. She gently explains that holding hands doesn't always mean goodbye. Curious, she asks if people in his tribe even hold hands. He replies that he's only seen girls do it while dancing at festivals. She then asks if he's never seen lovers hold hands, and when he doesn't understand, she explains the concept. He admits he's never seen it before. She reflects that maybe people there don't date, then points out the positive meanings of holding hands and other gestures, and how they can symbolize trust, care, and affection. Eventually, he allows her to hold his hand, and she feels a small, genuine happiness. She quietly wonders if people in his tribe date outsiders, remembering that he said everyone in his tribe is considered family. Curious, she asks if he's ever liked someone. He admits he has, Thearia. She asks if Thearia was the chief and wonders if he admired her more as a leader than as a woman. He explains that he liked her in both ways. She then talks to him about the meaning of crush and love, helping him understand the difference. Finally, she asks if he's ever felt anything like that before, and he quietly admits that he is feeling it now. Sora continues explaining the concept of love to Shaka, feeling a little embarrassed as she recalls how she had hugged and kissed him earlier. Shaka, however, admits that he had been wanting to do that for a while and asks if that means he loves her. She considers it a cheesy pickup line, but doubts he fully understands what he's saying. Sora reflects on herself. She's never been madly in love with anyone, usually stumbling into relationships or going out on blind dates. She guesses that Shaka probably falls for people easily. He then asks if she feels the same way, and she says no. Curious, he wonders if that means he loves her fully while she only loves him halfway. She bursts into laughter, questioning how he came to that conclusion. She admits that technically he has a crush on her. Surprised, he confesses that he wants her to love him too. Sora internally notes that he doesn't hold back, and while she knows he means well, she decides to stay with him for now and play along, humorously indulging him. She pecks his hand, noticing his eyes widen. She hesitates, but he admits he likes it better when she kisses him on the lips. The rain pours harder, and she moves closer to him, kissing him. He asks if she should do what they did the last time, but she tells him to act as he did in Kudu, even though he doesn't remember. She reminds him that he did whatever he wanted back then. Tentatively, she slips her dress down a little, and he begins to caress her. They grow intimate as the rain continues. After a while, the rain stops, and they decide to find a place to bathe. Sora is curious how he finds water so easily, and he explains that everything has its own scent. Suddenly, he pulls her close and tells her to close her eyes, noting that he spots a carcass nearby. Shaka notices the dresses of the two people, one from the Sibakani tribe and the other's outfit he's never seen before. He wonders if they are outsiders, but he quickly realizes that neither of them seems to be from the same place as Sora. He also notices that neither shows any injuries and wonders what might have happened to them. Meanwhile, Sora is bathing in the stream, regretting that she didn't keep her eyes closed. She reminds herself that she shouldn't be surprised by what she sees, but still, she never thought she'd actually witness it. She wonders if she would end up the same way if she can't escape. As she bends down into the water, she wishes she could emerge in Korea. Suddenly, a hand reaches for her and lifts her up. She asks what Shaka is doing, noting that she was just bathing. He explains that she could have fainted, and she questions how she could have drowned when the water only comes up to her thighs. She begins to cough as a memory flashes through her mind. Shaka walks to a nearby rock and sits down. She wonders if what they saw earlier had freaked him out. He reassures her that the others weren't murdered, they had no injuries, but he thinks they might have gotten lost in the forest. He tells her not to be scared since she's with him. She counters that she isn't scared, and if anything, she thinks he's the one feeling it. He admits maybe, and she feels a pang of guilt that he's so honest. He asks her to come closer and rub some lemon oil on her, explaining that the Attu use it when bathing. The scent is pleasant, and she's surprised that his tribe uses it. He tells her that they learned it from Saria, a girl from the Jata tribe who shared her tribe's customs. She feels embarrassed and notices she is cold, and he asks if he should warm her. She internally wonders if he's implying something physical, but she realizes he is simply trying to keep her warm. Shaka tells her that Liax brought Saria to the Attu tribe. She's surprised, and he explains that Liax is a member of the Attu and Saria's father. She wonders how a girl from the Nata tribe could have a father from the Attu. He tells her that when a man first brought a child to the tribe, it marked the beginning of the concept of father. Only certain men were allowed to take children they received from Kudu, and then they would return to their respective tribes. Sora asks about Shaka's own family. He admits he doesn't know his father, and a child only learns about their mother after the coming-of-age ceremony. She concludes that couples there don't marry traditionally. Unions are decided by Kudu. She reflects that Shaka cares for her because she's the first person he met outside the cave, and because he doesn't know his family or why he was imprisoned. Still, she wonders what she should do since she will be leaving soon. Sora falls asleep on Shaka's arms, the warmth of his body and the gentle sway of their high perch lulling her into rest. When the bright sunlight finally wakes her, she realizes just how high up they are, perched among the branches, and she reflects on the unusual experience of sleeping in a tree. She notices that Shaka is still asleep beside her, his face peaceful, and her mind drifts back over the events that brought them here. A memory flashes through her mind, and she marvels at how unlikely it all seems. They ended up together like this, so close, after everything that had happened. She wonders how many days it has been since the chaos began, realizing that although it has only been a few days, so much has occurred in that short span. She finds it remarkable that she's still alive, a realization that fills her with awe and gratitude, knowing that it was Shaka's protection and actions that kept her alive through the dangers of the forest and encounters with the tribes. She wishes she could do something meaningful to help him back, but she also knows that there isn't much she can do in their current circumstances, and besides, leaving together isn't an option. She reflects on the agreement they had made, that Shaka would accompany her only as far as the Tatira lands, and understands that he will remain there safely without worrying about her beyond that point. Shaka stirs beside her, waking up from his slumber. He blinks at her and questions whether he had fallen asleep too, making her laugh because he had slept longer than she had. He leans in and begins to kiss her, and she quickly tells him to wait. He suggests instead that they find something to eat, but she can't help noticing the way her heart races every time their eyes meet, the sparks of attraction and tension that continue to grow between them. Soon he hands her a handful of mushrooms, and she begins to realize that once Shaka's guard is down, He opens up and starts to share parts of himself, parts he hadn't revealed before. He begins to talk about life in his tribe, explaining that children brought to the village on the same day are raised and educated together as a communal family. Curious, Sarah asks how old he is, and he admits that he stopped counting the years long ago, though he estimates he should be about 20. She smirks and tells him that since she is 25, he must show her respect now. Confused, he asks why, and she clarifies that he should call her by her name instead of hey. When he does mention her name, it makes her blush, a small and endearing moment between them. Shaka continues to share details of his life, explaining that the Gen, young men of his tribe, normally go hunting, while the women care for 4 or 5 children at a time. Sarah notes that he seems to have done little else beyond growing up with the friends he was raised with, and he affirms that observation. She asks about the other children, and he recalls that there were 2 boys and a girl. They were a group of 5 when Sora joined the tribe, and Thearia was the one who taught and guided them. Shaka mentions that Thearia wasn't chief at the time, and that he hasn't seen any of them since he was locked up. Sarah notices a hint of loneliness in his voice as he reflects on this, a subtle reminder of the isolation he experienced during his imprisonment. Curious about her world, Shaka asks about the place she comes from, and she begins to share her experiences, describing the cities, the life she left behind, and the strange new reality they are both navigating. They continue to exchange stories, learning more about each other with each passing moment. Before they know it, their conversations are interrupted by the realization that their destination is finally within sight. From their vantage point, Sarah can see Kudu in the distance, a reminder of how far they have already come. Despite all the walking, they still have a long way ahead of them, and she can't help but wonder how much more effort it will take to reach their goal. And he responds that it will take them a full day of walking to reach Kudu. She questions whether he isn't tired from carrying her all this while, but he reassures her that he isn't. Without hesitation, he continues to carry her, noting that they need to find a safe place to sleep before sundown to avoid the dangers that roam the forest at night. She asks him how far the river is from Kudu, and he answers that it is about half a day away, which makes her realize that their paths will part sooner than she had expected. The thought fills her with unease. It reinforces why she doesn't like relying on others. The more time she spends with someone, the more anxious she becomes, and she wonders if she will be able to manage without Shaka once they part ways. The thought of leaving him, even for a short while, tightens her chest and makes her heart beat a little faster than usual. Meanwhile, Sora sleeps in her hut, her mind drifting into dreams of a long-ago memory. She sees Gusti suggesting a race across a river, an innocent challenge from her childhood. Shaka declines, explaining that Thearia would be upset if they took such risks. Sampo agrees with Shaka, questioning what would happen if they ran into crocodiles. Gusti, undeterred, asks why they should be scared since they will have to hunt in a few years anyway. Sampo hesitates, saying that she doesn't need to hunt, but Gusti insists that she will hunt as well. Ashar decides to join the race, and Sora laughs at how little Shaka and Sampo seem like babies compared to Ashar's boldness. She waves at Sora, who is standing nearby, encouraging her to join in the fun. Shaka stares at her, concerned and curious, while Sora responds with her characteristic stubbornness, refusing to join them and insisting that she doesn't want to take part. Suddenly, Sora wakes from the dream, frowning at how reminiscing about her childhood ruins her morning mood. As she moves, she bumps into someone, her father. He carefully combs her hair, reminding her of the importance of keeping herself well-groomed at all times. She replies that Gusti also has her hair down sometimes, as if that should be acceptable. Her father scolds her gently, saying that Gusti was not properly educated and neglects her duties as a woman of their tribe, though she will be properly educated soon enough. Sora thinks to herself that this sounds messy and confusing, but her father continues, adding that Thearia didn't raise them properly, and that he should have educated her personally from the start. When he finishes packing her hair neatly, he tells her she is beautiful, and then immediately asks about Shaka, his curiosity evident in his voice and expression. Meanwhile, Sarah is determined to learn, requesting that Shaka teach her how to build a hut. Curious about her sudden interest, he asks why she wants to learn, and she responds simply that she wants to try. Patiently, he shows her the materials to use and how to construct the hut, though she wonders if he suspects she is trying to gently push him away again, creating a distance between them. Night falls over the forest, and Shaka lies down on a large rock, facing the night sky, as he lets his mind relax after the day's journey. Sarah walks up to him, feeling a mix of embarrassment and resolve. She apologizes, acknowledging that he has been helping her tirelessly all this while she has mostly been thinking of herself and her own safety. She then invites him to come sleep in the hut, insisting that she doesn't mind sharing the space with him. Shaka responds, noticing her hesitation and her underlying concern. He tells her that he knows why she has been trying to distance herself. She is worried about what will happen to him after they inevitably part ways. but he reassures her that she is overthinking. Whatever happens to him afterward is his responsibility. And for now, he only wants to stay close to her, so she shouldn't push him away. Sarah listens, taking in the honesty and intensity of his words. She reflects on how she has always pushed her feelings aside, believing that she could sever ties at any moment without consequence. But in this quiet, honest moment under the night sky, she feels something shift inside her. She makes a silent promise to herself that she will not push him away again, choosing instead to embrace the closeness and trust they share. For the first time since arriving in this strange and dangerous place, she finds herself wishing that the night would last forever, wanting to linger in the safety, warmth, and companionship of Shaka's presence. In the tent, they become intimate. Later, while sleeping, Shaka dreams of a memory from the past, but he wakes up, still hearing footsteps from the person in his dream. When she wakes up, she wonders where Shaka is and comes out, spotting her shoes. She offers to get them herself, thinking it would be faster, but Shaka warns that the UAPI could be nearby. As he moves to carry her, she declines, insisting she can walk, though she notices how upset he is. When they reach the river, she asks if he wants to bathe with her. Surprised at her suggestion, he hesitates, but she reassures him that there's nothing to be shy about since he's already done so much for her. She then proposes untying the rope around his neck, which looks uncomfortable. Watching his expression, she wonders if he wants to keep it on. He admits it has always been there, but allows her to loosen it. She assures him that everything will be fine, kisses him as she removes it, and hugs him until he gets used to it. Sensing urgency, he lifts her up immediately, and though she reminds him that he doesn't have to carry her, he insists, saying there's no time to walk. They need to leave the forest immediately. Shaka begins to run. Shortly, she tells him to stop and asks him to at least explain what's wrong. He reveals that he heard footsteps. She questions if it's the UAPI, but he says no. She tells him to calm down. He puts her down and mentions Liax. She asks if he's sure it was Liax's footsteps and if he thinks Liax is coming for him. He explains that he's heard those footsteps every day since being in the cave and would never mistake them. Meanwhile, she worries they might get caught, but he tells her to wait a moment while he checks the area. She asks what if he can't find her again. Immediately, he grabs her, sniffing her. She questions him, and he explains that he's memorizing her scent and heartbeat so he can find her no matter where she is. She calls out to him, and he reassures her that he'll be right back. He leaves, and she squeezes her bag against herself, noting she's never seen him so scared and wondering if she'll be okay alone if they come for him. Shaka searches everywhere but can't find Liax. He wonders if he was mistaken, though the footsteps sounded very close. Being closer to Atu territory, he knows Liax is coming after him. He realizes they need to cross the river quickly but notices her scent and heartbeat moving away. Returning, he can't find her. He senses she's getting farther away but knows she couldn't have gone far in such a short time. He refuses to believe Liax got her. Suddenly, a rope is thrown at him and someone orders him to keep it around his neck. The person warns that Shaka defied him, so he must face the consequences. Elsewhere, Sora is with Haisan. He grabs her hand, noting her impressive escape, and questions why she went through so much trouble only to end up back there. He wonders if he's the only one happy about their reunion. Shaka is so focused on tracking Sarah's scent that he doesn't even notice Liax nearby. Liax finds this odd and asks his men if Shaka had a wound on his chest. They confirm it. He tries to reach Shaka, but Shaka brushes it off. Liax notes that Shaka is just like Thearia. Meanwhile, Shaka regrets being there because he senses that Sora is slipping away. He also catches a faint lingering scent and knows it belongs to Haisan. At the other end, Sora realizes she needs to get away. She wonders why she's alone without her escort, but she acknowledges that it might have been worse if her escort had been with her. She recalls getting the feeling earlier that she wasn't alone and had tried to throw off anyone following her. She wonders why it has to be this guy chasing her. He notes that she did well evading him, but knew he would find her if he came to Kudu. Sora questions if he still thinks she is special, and concludes that if he does, he will continue pursuing her. She decides to tell him she isn't special, so he will give up. She claims she had nothing to do with Kudu, but he grabs her and pins her against the wall. He questions her about what she did with Shaka. She insists she didn't do anything, but he explains that Shaka was shot by multiple arrows, yet got back up and kept moving. She questions how that involves her, and he continues that Shaka mercilessly defeated his men even in that state, highlighting Shaka's incredible physical power. She can't believe he thinks she had something to do with it. She recalls thinking it was odd how quickly Shaka's wound healed, but finds it absurd to think it was because of her. She wonders if his back wound healed too. She notices a scar on Haisan's ear and decides to check it. He explains that she had already ripped it off. As she touches it, he wonders what he is feeling, while she guesses nothing happened. Being close to him, she feels his lower part bulge, and he remarks that he was told such a thing happens only when it's time to make a baby. Elsewhere, someone hands a bag to Liax, noting they found it nearby. Liax remarks that Shaka seems to know who it belongs to. He then notices there's another thing in the forest that doesn't belong there, and instructs his men to find it. Haisan explains to Sora that once their men and women reach a certain age, they go through a rite of passage where they are taught how to make babies, and they come to Kudu on a full moon to do so. He comments on her strength and expresses surprise at Shaka, noting that Shaka didn't have any feathers from his coming-of-age ceremony, meaning he doesn't even know how to make babies. Haisan wonders aloud if he can use what he's learned to arouse a woman and decides to experiment by kissing Sarah's neck. She questions if he's crazy and reminds him it's forbidden, but he reassures her it's fine as long as they don't make a baby. She tries to get away, but he holds her firmly. She begins to tremble, and suddenly she hears a sound. At the other end, Liax and his men discuss what to do with Shaka. Liax suggests binding him and throwing him back in the cave, with guards to prevent escape, but he immediately notices something unusual. Meanwhile, Sora touches Haisan's face, wondering where his strength came from. He asks if she's aroused, noting he has to stop, but he wants to know what it feels like next. He begins to kiss her, then suddenly feels something course through him and pulls away, wondering what it was. Her eye's color then returns to normal. Before she can even comprehend what is happening, more arrows fly past her. And then, she hears one of his men come out as he asks her if she has not learned her lesson yet. He tells her that she can't escape in this forest and orders his men to tie her up. After they tie her up, Saihan sighs in relief, and one of his men asks him if he is all right. He replies, saying no. While Sora thinks that the last time she was tired of Shaka helped her out, but now she is on her own. She wonders what will happen to her, as if she will ever go back home. Saihan asks her what she did to him and says his body has been acting weird ever since, which annoys her. She yells at him, saying that is her line, which surprises him. She asks him why he brought her here and makes her go through this trouble. She also asks him how it is her fault that his body feels weird and tells him not to give her that crap when he is the one who jizzed all over. Saihan's men stare at them in shock and confusion, but don't say anything, which embarrasses Saihan. He points to one of his men and tells them he felt another presence at Kudu, so they should check it out. They leave to do as he said, while wondering what is going on. After they leave, Sihan tells her not to breathe a word about what happened earlier. She tells him she won't, so he should untie her, but he says he can't. She tells him that there is nothing special about her, and she has nothing to do with that spirit thing or whatever he's talking about. He tells her there is no way to check whether she's the real thing, and he's doing all this based on what he overheard the elders say. They will confirm things for him if he brings her with him, so she should just keep her mouth shut and go along with him. She wonders if she's really getting dragged to this tribe, and thinks that the only way out is to make her way to the coast and escape by boat like she originally planned. She also thinks she might ask him where they are right now, since she just needs to know if they are near the island. He grabs her by the arm, telling her to get up, and she asks him how far they are from the island where he first caught her, which confuses him. She yells, telling him the island she landed on, and he asks her what she is babbling about, and says that the part of the forest where she first appeared isn't too far from where they are currently, and that there aren't any islands anywhere near there, which surprises her. She asks him what he means by there aren't any islands. He tells her that an island is a small floating mountain in the sea, and it should take at least 3 full days to reach the shore from where they are. So obviously there aren't any islands nearby, which shocks her. She says it is impossible because it didn't take her that long to reach the forest after she got off the boat, and he asks her in surprise if she came to the forest on a boat. Just as he is about to ask her more about the boat, he feels the presence of someone and immediately grabs her. She asks him what that was. He says the Atu, and she turns around, wondering if it was Shaka. Gusti, who is the Atu that just arrived, asks what UAPI is doing there, and tells Sihan to hand over Sora. Saihan asks Gusti who she thinks she is, while Sora wonders what Gusti wants with her. She recalls Shaka saying that if the tribe catches them, they will end them on sight, and she immediately tells Saihan that they have to run. She says to Saihan that Gusti is there to end her life, so they have to run, which surprises Gusti, who asks her what she's talking about and why she would want to end her life. Saihan thinks Gusti is a woman dressed like a man from her tribe, and he can handle one woman, even in his current fragile state. Just then, Sora yells, alerting Saihan of an incoming attack. But before Saihan can do anything, Asha kicks him and he falls with Sora, while using his body to protect her. Asha points a knife at Saihan's neck and says that they aren't here to end his life, so he should just hand Sora over. Saihan wonders who the scrawny kid is, and if they are actually members of the Atu tribe. He also thinks that since there are 2 of them and they can't reach for his bow, it would be difficult to take them both alone. Sora asks him what he is doing, and he tells her to shut up because it is her fault his body isn't acting right. Gusti yanks Sora away from the Saihan's grip and asks her where Shaka is. When she doesn't reply, she tells her that they are not going to end her life and asks her what is wrong with her. She says that they heard Sora was with Shaka and asked where he is and why she is with this UAPI creep, referring to Saihan. Asha tells Gusti that they should leave, and just as they are about to leave, Saihan stops them, saying he found Sora first. Gusti asks Saihan, "So what?" And Asha hears a sound he recognizes as an arrow. He pushes Gusti out of the way, yelling that it is an arrow, and the arrow stabs him in the wrist. Saihan gets to his bow and pulls out another arrow, saying that he found Sora first, so she is going with him. Asha quietly asks Sora if she wasn't with Shaka. He tells her they are Shaka's best friends and starts tugging at the rope binding her hands, saying they have questions for her and would appreciate it if she came with them. He says that once her hands are free, she should grab Gusti. Saihan orders his men to bring Sora to him. Gusti says that they might have to take more than a few arrows before everything is over, while Sora wonders what is going on. She also wonders if Gusti and Asha are really Shaka's friends and what she should do as Asher unties her. Gusti waits for Sora to take a hand, as Asha said. When Sora doesn't do anything, she asks her what she is doing. Sora just tightens the rope around her wrist, gets up, and lets herself be taken away by Saihan. She turns to glance at Ashar and then faces forward. Saihan tells Asha and Gusti that if they were in the UAPI territory, they would just be dead, and they are lucky that they are letting them off with just a pierced wrist. He suddenly feels faint again and staggers, and his men immediately start coming to his aid. He wonders what is wrong with him and thinks that it is like something is coursing through his body, which is awful. Then he orders his men to tie the Atu people to a tree. Asher holds his wrist, and Gusti asks him if he is okay. When he says he is, Gusti tells him that the UAPI leader doesn't look so good right now, and that if they take out the weaklings, referring to Saihan's men, they could get the girl back. When Asher asks her if she is sure, she tells him that a little arrow wound will heal in no time. As Saihan rests with Sora by his side, she thinks that she doesn't know who Asher and Gusti are, but she does know that the Atu tribe is after Shaka, so she can't trust anyone from that tribe at the moment. She tells him they didn't finish their conversation earlier, and he starts to say they should continue when a scream interrupts them. They turn to see Gusti beating up some of Asha's men, even with arrows, sticking out her hand and leg. One of Saihan's men complains about the Atu people refusing to die while pulling out an arrow. Then he uses it to shoot Asha in the leg, which causes him to fall, and Gusti yells his name. Sora thinks that Saihan's men aren't doing well, and she loses the rope binding her hands. Then she runs away. Saihan tries to catch her, but just before he could, Asha shoots him with an arrow, which surprises him as he didn't know that Asha could use a bow. Sora runs deep into the forest as fast as she can, not stopping, as she wonders why everyone is after her and what she is doing there. When she starts to slow down, she wonders how much longer she has to run, only to be blocked by someone, which makes her wonder if she has been caught. The person grabs her as she struggles. He squeezes her tightly, and she immediately realizes that the person is Shaka, who is covered in blood, and his eyes are red. Sora quickly asks Shaka if he is okay, and where all his injuries came from. Instead of answering her, he suddenly lifts her up and pulls her close, then kisses her. But before anything else can happen, someone suddenly attacks him from behind. It's Gusti. She is carrying Asher with her. She quickly looks at Shaka and asks who he is, pointing out that he is clearly not an UAPI guy. Then she suddenly pauses and looks at him more carefully. After a moment, she realizes who it is. It's Shaka. She looks surprised and wonders why he is so badly cut up. Meanwhile, Sora watches the two of them and begins to wonder if they were lying earlier about being friends with Shaka. Gusti looks at him and asks if he remembers her. Since he doesn't react, she quickly introduces herself and explains that the person she is carrying is Asher. But Shaka remains completely silent. After a moment, Gusti raises her voice and tells him to say something. He finally responds with just one word. No. Sora notices this and quietly points out that something seems wrong with Shaka. Hearing that, Gusti begins running toward them. But before she can reach them, Shaka suddenly tightens his hold on Sora and runs away with her. Not long after, Asher slowly wakes up. He looks around and asks what happened to the UAPI guys. Gusti calmly tells him that she handled them. Then she mentions that she saw Shaka. She explains that he ran off with Sora. After saying that, she quickly asks Asher if he can move because they need to hurry if they want to catch up with them. Meanwhile, as Shaka carries her through the forest, Sora starts to notice something strange. The way he is acting feels dangerous. His movements don't seem normal at all. Elsewhere, one of the Atu asks if Chief Lead is all right. The chief wonders how Shaka was able to do something like that. Another Atu named Liax asks if they all saw what just happened. One of the guys replies that Shaka was simply too fast for any of them to react. After hearing that, Liax gives a clear order. They must find Shaka and capture him. If they have to, they should even cut off his limbs to stop him. Back with Sora, she begins to feel uneasy. At that moment, she honestly thinks Shaka looks more like a beast than a person. The way he is acting reminds her of the first time they met, when he behaved like a wild creature that didn't understand human speech. Feeling nervous, she tells him to stop. But she quickly starts thinking that he might not even understand what she is saying. Inside her mind, she quietly admits that she doesn't want to create this kind of memory with him. Then she suddenly remembers something he once told her. He said that she shouldn't push him away. Thinking about that, she softly tells him that she won't push him away. Then she calmly asks him to say her name if he can hear her and come back to his senses. For a brief moment, nothing happens. Then Shaka quietly says her name, earlier. As soon as Shaka escapes, he begins searching for Sora right away. He follows her scent through the forest, moving quickly and looking around with urgency. After a short while, he finally finds her. The moment he sees her, he runs straight to her and pulls her close to himself. But almost immediately, he senses danger. Someone is attacking nearby, and he quickly looks around, trying to figure out who it is. Still, he decides not to stay there. Instead, he quickly runs off with Sora, heading somewhere safer where they won't be easily found. After reaching a quiet place, he finally slows down. That's when he notices something. Sora looks scared of him. Seeing that makes him uneasy. He clearly doesn't want to hurt her, and he begins trying hard to control himself. Slowly, he struggles to calm down. Just then, he manages to say her name, just like she asked him to. Saying it seems to bring some of his senses back. As he steadies himself, a memory suddenly comes to him. He remembers that Liax captured him earlier. Meanwhile, Sora notices that he now recognizes her. She can see it in his eyes. Shaka looks confused and asks what happened to him because he couldn't remember her before. He also admits that he scared her. Sora gently tells him to come closer. Then she calmly explains that she wasn't really scared and that he didn't hurt her at all. Hearing that, Shaka slowly walks toward her and pulls her into a hug. After a moment, Sora quietly asks if that strange behavior will happen again. Shaka simply tells her no. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the forest, Gusty is busy helping Asher. She struggles for a moment as she tries to remove the arrow stuck in his wrist. After some effort, she finally manages to pull it out. She quickly assures him that the bleeding should stop in a minute. As she wraps the wound, she mentions that Shaka looked badly cut up earlier too. She wonders what could have happened to him. Just then, Asher suddenly becomes alert and tells her that someone is nearby. The two of them look around carefully. Soon, they realize that it's one of the UAPI guys. Seeing him makes Gusty remember something. She realizes that he is the same UAPI guy she knocked out earlier. Shaka carries Sora in his arms and begins walking through the forest. After a while, Sora looks around and asks if it wouldn't be safer for them to stay in Kudu. But Shaka quickly shakes his head and tells her no. According to him, she needs to go as far away from this place as possible. Right after saying that, he suddenly begins to run again, moving quickly through the trees. Not too far away, someone is watching them. It's Sora. As she sees the two of them running off together, she begins to laugh softly. She comments that it looks like someone just got kicked out, and apparently Sora is the one responsible for it. Still smiling, she says there's no need for anyone to get angry. In fact, maybe this is actually for the best. Maybe Sora is the one they have been looking for. With that thought in mind, Sora decides something. She will bring Sora back here. Then they can test things properly and find out if Sora can replace the Arya. Meanwhile, as Shaka continues carrying her, Sora suddenly notices something and makes a small comment. She says she smells pretty sweaty right now. Shaka answers that he doesn't really remember how he got here in the first place. But he does remember one thing clearly. He remembers searching for her scent so he could find her. Luckily, he didn't forget that scent. As he says this, he begins to touch her gently. But Sora quickly stops him. Seeing her reaction, he calmly says that he will stop if she doesn't want him to continue. Instead, Sora suggests that they should deal with his injuries first. He looks at her and tells her to touch them. According to him, maybe they will heal the same way they did last time. Sora quickly shakes her head. She tells him it probably doesn't work like that, and she doesn't have that kind of power anyway. Shaka lets out a quiet sigh after hearing that. Then Sora adds something else. She says that just because his wounds heal quickly doesn't mean he is strange. Even though she says that, she quietly realizes that nothing about him has really been normal so far. That thought makes her wonder something. She starts questioning whether Shaka is actually human or not. Still curious, she asks him how he ended up getting so badly injured. Shaka answers that he honestly doesn't know. What he does remember is that he was looking for her after she suddenly disappeared. Then Liax showed up. Sora asks what happened after that. Shaka tells her that he doesn't remember anything after he was captured. It feels just like the time when the UAPI guys shot him with their arrows. Back then, he also lost his memory for a while. After explaining that, he asks her something in return. He says he can smell the scent of the UAPI guy all over her, so he wants to know what happened to her. Sora explains that the UAPI guy captured her a while earlier. Hearing that clearly bothers Shaka. After a short moment, he decides to get rid of that scent. Without warning, he gently pulls her down and begins kissing her. After a while, Sora quietly asks if his injuries hurt. Shaka looks a little curious and asks why she suddenly wants to know that. She explains that he has been much gentler than usual, and she thought maybe it was because he was hurt. Hearing that, he asks if she doesn't like it. Sora thinks about it for a moment. Honestly, it isn't bad at all, but part of her still wants to see him burning with more desire like before. Shaka then asks if he should continue. He explains that he isn't really in pain. He just doesn't want to hurt her. He continues for a moment, but after a while, Sora stops him. She calls his name softly, wondering if he has fallen asleep because he suddenly stops responding. When she looks at him more carefully, she notices something surprising. His injuries are already starting to heal. Seeing that makes her think deeply. She knows she has been trying not to think about it too much, but the whole situation really is strange. Still, she's very sure about one thing. She wasn't transported to another dimension or anything like that. She looks up at the moon for a moment and quietly notes that she is definitely still on Earth. Then another thought appears in her mind. She begins to wonder if she somehow traveled back in time. Maybe people like Shaka existed in the past. After thinking about it for a moment, she pushes those thoughts aside. None of that really helps her right now. She also realizes that she is not on the island where she originally landed. Thinking about that makes her sigh. She regrets not waiting for the UAPI guy to finish explaining things earlier. If she had listened to the end, maybe she would understand more about how she ended up here. Even if she finds him again to hear the rest of the story, the UAPI guys would probably start shooting arrows the moment they see Shaka. Still, another thought crosses her mind. If those two Atu managed to follow them earlier, that must mean they defeated the UAPI guys. But then another possibility appears. What if the UAPI guy and the rest of his group were eliminated? That thought makes her feel uneasy. She quietly regrets everything because those UAPI guys might be the only ones who actually know how she arrived in this place. Part of her really wants to go back and check if that guy is still alive. At the same time, she begins wondering what she should do about the Atu people. Maybe she should ask Shaka if they are truly his friends or not. Not long after, Shaka slowly wakes up. He apologizes for dozing off like that. Sora calmly tells him it's okay because she didn't want to wake him anyway. She is about to ask him something, but before she can finish, he suddenly asks if she is all right. As he speaks, he gently kisses her belly. Still thinking about the earlier situation, Sora asks if he remembers the moment when he first found her in the forest. Shaka nods and says he does remember it, although the memory is not very clear. Then she asks him something more specific. She asks if he remembers seeing two Atu members. Hearing that makes him look surprised. Sora then explains everything that happened after they separated earlier. She tells him how the UAPI guy with the dreadlocks chased her through the forest. Then she describes how two Atu people appeared and told her that they were his friends. They even asked her to follow them. Shaka asks what they looked like. Sora explains that one of them was a giant woman, while the other was a small and skinny guy. She also mentions their names. The moment he hears those names, Shaka's eyes widen in surprise. Sora continues explaining that those two people also said that the Arya raised them together with him. She says that is what they mentioned when they ran into them earlier. After explaining everything, Sora finally asks him to confirm something. She asks if those two people are really his friends. Shaka quietly confirms that they are. Sora then suggests that they should go and look for them, but Shaka immediately refuses. He explains that they can't trust anyone from Atu right now because things might have changed. Sora thinks about that and slowly nods. He might be right. It could even be Liax who sent them in the first place. She lets out a long sigh because the situation is starting to feel hopeless. She honestly doesn't know how she will ever figure out where she really is. At the same time, Shaka begins thinking about something else. He wonders why Gusti wanted Sora to go with them earlier. There are many questions he wants to ask his friends, but he also doesn't want to put Sora in danger. After thinking for a moment, he suggests that they should leave before sunrise because more people will likely appear once the sun comes up. Sora quietly wonders if she should simply keep following Shaka for now. Suddenly, Shaka pulls her close to him. He immediately senses that someone else is nearby. At that same moment, Asher, who is standing behind a tree, also senses the presence of someone. He looks around carefully and wonders who could be moving around inside Atu territory. He then calls out, asking which tribe they belong to. Sora quickly whispers to Shaka that the voice sounds like one of his friends. The moment Shaka hears the voice, he recognizes it right away. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the forest, the Uzapi guy is dealing with Gusti without holding back at all. She is struggling badly and clearly in distress. Earlier, she already sent Asher to go and find Sampo, but deep down, she doesn't think that will help much. Right now, all she can think about is the Uzapi guy standing in front of her. The strange thing is that he looked sick the whole time, yet he is still fighting with terrifying strength. She can't understand where that strength is coming from. Her body is already weak, and she can feel herself getting close to passing out. Knowing that she can't last much longer, she decides to free herself even if it's just for a moment. She quickly thinks of a way to break free, and suddenly the Uzapi guy lets out a loud scream. Not far away, Asher is standing with Shaka and Sora. He looks closely at Shaka and asks if it really is him. Then he suddenly admits that he is glad Shaka is safe too. Shaka still looks tense and alert, so Asher slowly puts his weapon down. After that, he sits down and calmly tells Shaka to relax because he is already too weak to keep standing. Seeing this, Sora tells Shaka not to worry about her. Hearing that, Shaka slowly steps forward to meet his friend. Asher looks at him and says that it has been a long time since they last saw each other, so it makes him a little sad to see Shaka being so guarded around him. Shaka then asks how Asher got hurt so badly. Asher explains that the wounds are from arrows. He confirms that he and Gusti fought the Uzapi guys earlier. Hearing that name immediately makes Shaka ask about Gusti. Asher says she is somewhere nearby, but she is in danger. He quickly adds that he needs to find someone. However, before he can finish what he wants to say, he suddenly loses consciousness and collapses. Sora immediately looks worried and asks if Asher is still alive. Shaka checks him and calmly says yes. He explains that Asher hasn't lost too much blood. The real problem is that Asher has always been physically weak. Hearing that makes Sora realize something important. These two really are Shaka's friends. She quietly regrets not trusting them earlier and not following them when they asked. The thought makes her feel a little guilty. After a moment, she begins wondering out loud why Asher is alone right now. That question makes Shaka feel uneasy. He suddenly worries that something might have happened to Gusti. He wants to go and look for her immediately, but at the same time, he is thinking about Sora being left alone. Sensing his hesitation, Sora quickly tells him to take her along if he plans to search for Gusti. She even suggests that they could leave Asher inside a cave so he can rest safely, but he shakes his head and says it wouldn't be safe for her to come with him. She quickly responds that they finally managed to find each other again, and she doesn't want them to split up once more. Shaka thinks about her words for a moment, clearly unsure what to do. Then suddenly both of them notice something. Someone, or something, is nearby. She quickly wonders if it might be Gusti, but Shaka quietly tells her that it isn't a person. Hearing that makes fear slowly rise inside her as she asks what it could possibly be. Soon, she finally sees the animal coming out of the trees. Her eyes widen a little as she looks at it. She asks if that isn't a leopard and wonders if they shouldn't run away before it gets closer. But he calmly tells her to wait. Instead of panicking, he slowly reaches out his hand and lets the animal sniff it. For a moment, the leopard studies him. Then it gently rubs its head against his hand. Seeing that makes her shake her head in disbelief. She jokingly says that he must be Tarzan because he is treating a leopard like it's just a regular house cat. He simply responds that the animal belongs to his friend. To him, it really is just his friend's cat. As he says that, he remembers a moment from the past when he played with the animal before. Then he turns to her and asks if she wants to try petting it. She hesitates at first. He notices this and tells her that it won't bite. Even so, she admits to herself that this is clearly not a normal cat. Still, compared to Kudan, the leopard actually seems much calmer and kinder. Slowly, she reaches out and touches its head. He smiles a little and says it's good that she isn't scared of it anymore. Seeing the leopard here also tells him something important. It means his friend must be somewhere nearby. From that, he guesses the three of them probably worked together earlier. He then looks at the injured guy and realizes that he probably won't wake up anytime soon. Because of that, he decides he will have to leave her with his friend for now. He doesn't have much choice, so he will just have to trust him. His plan is to take the injured guy somewhere safe first. He lifts him and carefully places him on the leopard's back. Just as he is about to move, she suddenly notices someone standing behind him. She recognizes the person immediately. It's the Uzapi guy. But something about him feels strange. He looks different somehow. Before anyone can react, the Uzapi guy suddenly rushes forward with incredible speed and attacks him. The sudden impact makes him lose his balance. Watching this reminds her of how he looked earlier when he lost control. She also notices something surprising. The Uzapi guy's ear looks completely healed. That makes her wonder if it happened because she touched it earlier. Until now, she always thought that the forest and the people living here were just a little unusual, like those rare tribes she sometimes saw on TV. It never once crossed her mind that she herself might be the unusual one. Meanwhile, he quickly realizes something important during the fight. The UAPI guy is clearly after her. He can also tell that the guy has incredible speed and strength. In his current condition, he knows he won't be able to outrun him while carrying her. Just then, the injured guy suddenly wakes up enough to act. He quickly pulls her toward himself and says that he isn't as weak as he used to be when they were younger. Then he tells him that they should meet again at the crocodile hunting grounds. He promises that they will wait there for him. Right after saying that, he quickly rides off on the leopard with her. Moments later, the UAPI guy attacks again. Realizing he has no other option, he decides to trust his friend for now and focus on dealing with this guy first. Meanwhile, at the crocodile hunting grounds, he gently pats the leopard and praises it. He says it's not easy for the animal to carry two people like that. After a moment, he turns to her and apologizes for bringing her there without asking her first. He explains that he still doesn't understand why she chose to go with the UAPI guy earlier. That man is extremely dangerous. According to him, not even the big woman was able to fight him properly. Yet somehow his friend was still able to block him. He quietly wonders how that was even possible. After listening to him, she suddenly asks him to show her injured wrist. He hesitates for a moment, but eventually stretches his hand toward her. The moment she grabs his wrist, he shouts in pain and asks what she is doing. She wonders to herself if simply touching the wound is enough, or if she also has to kiss him like before. But before she can try anything else, a sudden noise interrupts them. For a moment, she thinks it might be him returning. But the guy beside her shakes his head. He says it doesn't sound like just one person. Instead, it sounds like a group approaching them. He quickly pulls her behind him and stands ready while she quietly wonders whether the people coming are the UAPI guys or members of the Atu tribe. As the group approaches, Sora and Asher quickly climb into a tree. Sora clamps her mouth shut, careful not to make a sound. Moments later, Asher whispers that the group has passed. She exhales softly, realizing how close it was, and asks to confirm that they were Atu people. He nods. Curious, she questions why he's hiding, if he's running like Shaka. He shakes his head. She glances at his hand and notices it hasn't healed yet. Tentatively, she asks if she can kiss him. He's surprised, but firmly declines, saying he can't. Sora asks if he's ever been to Kudu before. Then she remembers Shaka's words, that he had healed when they first met on the tree, not in Kudu. Meanwhile, Asher observes her quietly, noting she's traveled with Shaka and is an outsider. Her clothes are unlike anything he's seen. He realizes that since he's found Shaka, he no longer has to take Sora to Soria, but he still wonders why Soria wanted her in the first place. She then asks about Gusty. Asher admits he doesn't know. He wasn't strong enough to help her at the time, and he had been seeking backup. He adds that he hid Sora here because Shaka was trying to protect her, though he isn't sure if Shaka will make it in time. Sora reassures him confidently that Shaka will be fine. He's a tough guy. She asks how Asher knew she was with Shaka, since she doesn't think he's seen her before. He hesitates, unsure how much to reveal, then lies, saying he smelled Shaka's scent on her. Sora guesses that all Atus have sensitive noses. Curiosity sparks, and he questions how she met Shaka. She explains that Shaka rescued her when the UAPI captured her. She adds that she arrived on a boat, her travel companion was killed, and tied to a tree. Asher warns that she could have been in serious trouble. Outsiders arriving by boat often provoke the UAPI, who control the coast. Some previous outsiders were cruel enough to almost wipe out the tribe. Since then, the UAPI eliminate any outsider who arrives by boat. Sora explains her choice to follow the path. She wanted to reach the coast to leave the island. She admits she isn't sure she'd be able to, even if she reached it. Then she observes why Asher and Shaka are friends. They are both kind and friendly. She wonders if it's because they were raised by the same chief, the Arya. Asher informs her that the Arya is no more. The tribe currently has no chief. Suddenly, a leopard jumps down. Sora thinks it's Shaka, while Asher wonders if it could be Gusty or Sampo. It's too dark to see clearly. It turns out to be Soria. Sora quietly commends Asher for keeping his end of the bargain, surprising him. The next morning, Sora is taken into the village. Some children struggle to understand what an outsider looks like, staring curiously at her presence. Meanwhile, the UAPI guy finishes dealing with Shaka. After overpowering him, he spits on him with clear contempt, takes Sora's coat, and begins to leave the area. Shaka desperately wants to stop him, but his body refuses to respond. He cannot move at all and can only watch helplessly as the UAPI guy walks away. By the next morning, Shaka regains consciousness and realizes he is lying inside a hut. His body aches from the injuries he sustained, and he feels disoriented as he slowly tries to understand where he is. As he looks around the hut, he notices someone lying nearby. Curiosity immediately rises within him as he studies the person, but even before getting a closer look, he already senses that the person is an Atu. Before he can examine the situation further, someone suddenly calls out to him and rushes toward him with excitement. The person runs over and hugs him tightly. Shaka, Still confused and weak, questions who the person is. His reaction surprises the individual. The stranger quickly introduces himself as Sampo and wonders if Shaka truly does not recognize him anymore. However, Sampo soon admits that it is understandable because they have both grown a lot over time. He even remarks that the only thing about him that has remained the same is his hair. As they continue talking, both of them notice just how much they have changed since they last saw each other. Sampo then explains that the other person still asleep nearby is Gutsi. Hearing that name immediately surprises Shaka, and his attention quickly shifts toward her as concern begins to build. Sampo soon notices the wounds on Shaka's body and begins asking about them. He explains that when they found Gutsi earlier, she had lost a lot of blood, though fortunately none of her injuries were critical. He also reveals that they had split up while searching for Shaka, and seeing Gutsi in such a terrible condition had frightened him greatly. While examining Shaka's injuries more carefully, Sampo remarks that the wounds on his body look very similar to the ones Gutsi has. This observation leads him to wonder if Shaka might have been attacked by some kind of beast. Hearing this makes Shaka uneasy, and he begins to wonder if the UAPI guy who attacked him might have also harmed Gutsi. Sampo then asks if Shaka knows where Asher might be, or if he has seen him. Shaka responds that Asher is at the crocodile hunting grounds. Immediately after giving this answer, he begins preparing to leave. Sampo quickly questions where he thinks he is going and reminds him that he is still badly injured. Despite the warning, Shaka insists that he is going to meet them at the crocodile hunting grounds. Sampo tries to stop him and offers to go get Asher instead so that Shaka can rest. However, Shaka refuses the suggestion and explains that he needs to go himself. At the Atu village, people gather around and whisper among themselves as they watch Sora closely. The attention makes her feel extremely uncomfortable. The large crowd overwhelms her, and she quietly thinks to herself that Soria never told her that so many people would be here. Not far away, Asher is tied up while Soria stands in front of him. He loudly demands that she untie him immediately, insisting that there is no need for such treatment. Soria calmly responds that the reason he is tied up is because he keeps trying to act sneaky around her. However, she reassures him about the men standing behind her, explaining that those men do not work for her father. Her statement suggests that the situation is not exactly what Asher assumes. As Sora observes everything happening around her, something about Soria begins to feel strangely familiar. After thinking for a moment, she suddenly remembers seeing her before in the forest. At that time, Soria had told her that she would be safe in Kudu, and Sora had trusted her words. Asher continues arguing, reminding Soria that he followed her instructions earlier, but ended up getting cut by the UAPI. Soria apologizes and explains that she believed no one else was around when she gave those instructions. Meanwhile, Sora continues searching through her memories and finally remembers the first place she ever saw Soria. It had been inside a tent. Soria notices the realization on Sarah's face and understands that she now remembers her. Taking advantage of that moment, she tells Sora to relax and do her savior a small favor. She suggests that cooperating would be the best option. If she does, she will help her return home. Sora continues staring at Soria with clear eagerness, trying to understand who she truly is and what she wants. Seeing the situation, Soria turns to the men standing behind her and instructs them to take Asher away, because she wants to speak with Sora privately. As the men grab him and begin to drag him away, Asher struggles and loudly demands that they release him. While watching this unfold, Sarah's mind fills with questions. She wonders if this is truly Soria, the girl Shaka once mentioned, the one Liax supposedly brought. The situation confuses her even more because she cannot understand why Soria would want to capture her. Her thoughts are crowded with questions, yet she hesitates because she does not know whether Soria will be willing to answer them. Soria seems to sense her hesitation and asks if she has any questions. The sudden invitation surprises Sarah and catches her off guard. However, the Atu girl calmly assures her that she is willing to answer whatever she wants to ask. Sarah lets out a quiet sigh and points out the contradiction in the situation. She notes that Soria currently has her tied up, yet she is asking her to lower her guard. To Sarah, that makes no sense at all. In response, Soria explains that the restraints are only there in case she tries to run away. Sarah insists that she has no intention of running and asks Soria to trust her first. After hearing that, Soria decides to loosen the situation slightly and unties Sarah's hands. With that done, Soria gives her a choice. She asks whether Sarah would prefer to hear about the favor she wants first or ask her questions before anything else. Sarah decides that she would rather hear about the favor first. The decision surprises Soria. She remarks that it is unexpected and wonders if Sarah is not curious about everything happening around her right now. Sarah calmly explains that choosing to hear the favor first does not mean she has agreed to do it. Despite that response, Soria seems confident that Sarah will eventually accept. She then reveals the reason she brought her there. She wants Sarah to take her place and become the god of Kudu. She quickly clarifies that the role does not mean becoming a real god, but rather acting as a kind of messenger for the god. Soria explains that her father wants her to take on this role, but she has no desire to do it. Instead, she would rather have Sora take her place. Sora struggles to understand how something like that could even be possible, and questions how she is supposed to accomplish it. Soria claims that it is actually very simple. To demonstrate, she picks up a sharp rock and scratches Sora's hand with it. The sudden action shocks Sora, and she instinctively touches the small wound while asking what just happened. However, the injury quickly disappears as the skin heals before her eyes. Seeing her reaction, Soria explains that this is exactly how the plan will work. She then asks if Sora is not curious to find out how that wound healed so quickly. After that, she calls for the cat and tells Sora that they should head to Kudu. Meanwhile, Sampo is still trying to stop Shaka from leaving for the crocodile hunting grounds. He does not want Shaka to go alone, yet he also cannot abandon Gutsi while she is still recovering. Just then, they hear Gutsi's voice calling out to them and telling them to wait. She explains that Shaka is not actually going there to look for Asher, but to search for Sora instead. She asks Shaka to confirm whether Asher really took Sora, since that would mean he will not find her there. Gutsi then reveals an important detail. She explains that Soria promised to tell them where Asher was if they brought Sora to her. Shaka immediately asks if that is true, and Gutsi confirms it. The moment he hears that, he turns around and begins leaving without hesitation. Gutsi quickly questions whether he understands the danger and warns him that Liax will eliminate him if he goes. Sampo then reminds Shaka how long it has been since they last saw each other. He asks if Shaka has any idea how worried they were about him. There is so much they still need to talk about, including everything that happened with Thearia. Shaka calmly responds that he already knows that Thearia is gone. Hearing that, Gutsi asks if he truly plans to go after Sora without asking any of the questions he must have. Shaka indeed has many questions in his mind, including why he was locked up, what happened to them during that time, and what truly happened to Thearia. However, he decides that those answers can wait. His priority right now is making sure that Sora reaches a safe place first. Gutsi eventually tells Shaka that he can go ahead, but he should not run too far because she will follow right behind him. Sampo immediately objects to the idea and suggests that she should not go anywhere in her condition. However, Gutsi argues that Shaka is just as injured as she is, which means she has every reason to follow him. She suggests that Sampo should remain behind and rest instead. Sampo quickly rejects the suggestion and says he would rather move around than stay in the shed doing nothing. Remaining idle does not sit well with him. While thinking about how they will travel, Sampo remarks that if Rang, the cat, were around, Gutsi could simply ride on it. Unfortunately, the animal is nowhere to be found, and it is not responding to his calls. He casually guesses that Rang might have wandered off somewhere, possibly searching for a mate. Hearing this, Shaka questions whether Sampo is referring to the cat and explains that Asher rode off with it earlier. Sampo looks surprised that Shaka still remembers the animal at all. Meanwhile, Gutsi comments that naming an animal in the first place is pointless and unnecessary. Observing the exchange between them, Shaka realizes that neither of them has really changed. Their familiar behavior brings back memories from the past. For a brief moment, it feels to him as though time had stopped at that earlier point in their lives. He begins wondering whether things might return to the way they once were after he manages to send Sora back safely. However, the thought does not last long because he quickly realizes that too much has already changed for that to happen. Even so, he insists that Gutsi should not come with him. He explains that he needs to reach his destination as quickly as possible, and because of their injuries, neither she nor Sampo would be able to keep up with him. Gutsi grows irritated after hearing that. She points out that Shaka was suddenly dragged away from them and locked up for a long time. When they finally reunited, he could barely recognize them. Now he wants to leave again just to chase after a girl. She demands to know who this girl is and whether she is somehow more important than the people who have been searching for him, including them and even Thearia. Shaka calmly explains that the situation is not about deciding who matters more. He simply wants to help Sora. Gutsi remains unconvinced and presses him further, asking why he feels the need to help her so badly. She even wonders whether the girl promised him wealth or some kind of reward. Shaka answers honestly and reveals that the reason he wants to help Sora is because he loves her. The confession shocks both Sampo and Gutsi. Gutsi immediately questions what Shaka could possibly know about love. In her view, he has not even gone through his coming-of-age ceremony yet. She continues criticizing the idea while Sampo tries to interrupt and calm her down. He believes that Shaka probably does not fully understand what he is saying, and he suggests that they can explain things to him later. Ignoring Sampo's attempt to stop her, Gutsi laughs as she recalls the first time she saw Shaka together with Sora. At that time, she believed that everything would remain the same when they eventually met again. Shaka asks what she means by that remark, but Gutsi dismisses the question and tells him not to worry about it. She then admits that she barely has the strength to keep standing. Since he has already decided to go his own way, she decides to tell him something important before he leaves. She questions whether he should not at least understand the basics of the situation before charging ahead blindly. Meanwhile, Sora is being escorted through the Atu village. As she walks, the curious villagers whisper among themselves while watching her closely. Many of them comment on how small she looks compared to them, and remark that outsiders tend to appear more earthy in appearance. Some villagers even claim that she was captured because she was caught trying to sneak into Kudu. Hearing their murmurs makes Sora question whether following Soria's plan is truly a good idea. As she watches the men walking ahead of her signaling to one another, she begins to wonder if they are already preparing for something. During their journey toward Kudu, Sora asks Soria what the plan actually is. Soria explains the details. She intends to run toward Sora while pretending to cry for help. When that happens, Sora will approach her and declare that the power of Kudu will heal her. Afterward, Soria will ask who Sora is, and Sora will introduce herself as a messenger sent to deliver the will of Kudu. Hearing the explanation, Sora finds the entire plan unimpressive and thinks it sounds rather weak. She cannot believe that Soria spent a long time coming up with something like that. At the same time, she begins wondering what she has gotten herself involved in. Earlier, she followed Soria almost as if she had been mesmerized by the strange healing ability she witnessed. Now that the excitement has faded, she starts questioning how the plan is supposed to work at all. Soon afterward, Sora asks why they are specifically heading to Kudu. Soria responds that Kudu itself will answer that question. Sora reminds her that she never promised to follow every instruction she gives. Soria dismisses the protest and tells her to stop pretending to be difficult. Without warning, Soria suddenly asks Sora what it feels like to make love. The unexpected question catches Sora completely off guard, and the surprise causes them to lose their footing and stumble. Sora immediately questions why she would ask something like that, and states that she will not answer such a question. Instead, Sora asks whether the Atu have strict rules about men and women becoming intimate. Soria replies by wondering whether intimacy is not supposed to happen only for the purpose of having children. Sora explains that where she comes from, that is not necessarily the case. She then asks whether the Atu waits for the full moon before becoming intimate. Soria avoids answering directly and says they can continue the discussion after they arrive. They soon begin climbing the stairs leading upward. As Sora climbs, she reflects that she never expected to return to this place again. Every time she comes here, something troubling seems to happen. After climbing for a while, she notices that Soria does not appear tired at all and asks if she is not exhausted. Sora herself is already out of breath. Soria casually explains that she comes up here every day, so the climb does not affect her much. Although she is officially only allowed to come during the full moon, she secretly visits daily. Curious, Sora asks why she does that. Soria admits that she is simply wondering whether it might be possible for her to travel to the place where Sora came from. Before Sora can fully process what she means, a sudden voice calling for help echoes nearby. The voice does not sound like Soria at all. Moments later, Sora's eyes widen in shock as she realizes something. In the morning, Shaka suddenly appears within sight of the Atu people, his body covered in blood. The sight shocks everyone around him. Before anyone can fully understand what has happened, he collapses to the ground from exhaustion and injuries. The Atu villagers quickly gather around him, calling out and urging him to wake up. Confusion spreads among them as they try to figure out who could have attacked him and what kind of battle he must have gone through to end up in such a state. From a distance, Sora watches the scene unfold. She feels uneasy as she observes the sudden chaos forming around Shaka. For a moment, she wonders whether this dramatic event might somehow be part of Soria's plan as well. Soria, however, dismisses the thought. She makes it clear that she has no intention of getting involved in the commotion surrounding him. The situation irritates her because she cannot believe that Shaka would chase Sora all the way to this place. As the crowd continues to react to Shaka's condition, Sora suddenly notices a familiar figure approaching. Her attention immediately sharpens when she recognizes the UAPI guy. The sight of him unsettles her. She cannot understand how he managed to find her here. The thought crosses her mind that if Kudu truly has power over this place, then why has the UAPI guy not been stopped from entering? The UAPI guy slowly moves closer toward her. Sora instinctively wants to step back and create distance, but her body refuses to move. Something holds her in place, making it impossible for her to escape. As he approaches, the UAPI guy begins to perform some kind of strange action. Sora watches anxiously, unable to tell what he is doing or what might happen next. Earlier, while searching for Sora, Shaka moves through the area with determination despite his injuries. During his search, a heavy realization weighs on his mind. He understands that when he finally finds her, it will most likely be the last time he sees her before she returns to her own world. The thought brings back the moment when he told himself that whatever happens will be his burden to carry. At the time, he said those words because he did not want to make things harder for her. Even so, he remembers that he still chose to keep her with him for a while, even though she had been trying to leave. Deep down, he simply wanted to stay with her a little longer. Later that same night, after he removes the toxin from her leg when she is bitten by a bug, he finally understands what Sora truly wants. Realizing that truth fills him with regret, and he cannot help wishing that he had understood her feelings much earlier. When they were little, nights were always warm and filled with quiet comfort. Each evening, they would lay out their blankets and gather around the area, sharing stories about their day, before slowly drifting off to sleep together. Loneliness never touched them. They had each other, and the warmth of friendship made every night feel safe. Now, Shaka reflects on those memories as he faces his current struggles. Nights alone, far from the warmth of friends, feel unbearably cold. He has always longed to go home, and though he is not trapped in a cave this time, the distance from those he cares about weighs heavily on him. He recalls how the captors had warned that if he ever tried to escape, his friends would be punished in his place. Yet, he clings to the hope that if he survives, he will one day reunite with them, and they will all be together again. That thought carries him through every lonely moment. Even as he reflects, his mind drifts to Sora. He wonders if it could ever be possible for them to remain together. He doesn't want to leave her, yet he knows she longs to go home. The way she gazes at the moon reminds him of the loneliness he has always felt. He had once believed that staying close to her, holding her, could prevent that emptiness, but now he understands the painful truth. He isn't the one she truly wants. She is lonely in this place and wants to return home. Shaka silently promises himself that he will ensure she never feels that same loneliness again. Even if he has no home to return to, she does. And he will help her reach it. Meanwhile, Soria's mind is sharp with observation. She notices the UAPI guy lingering near Sora, unsure why he persists. He cannot be controlled, but at least he hasn't harmed her. That brings some relief, but Sora quickly shifts to planning. How can she get Sora out safely? Suddenly, a loud scream cuts through the night. Asher, tied up and helpless, calls out, noticing commotion from the village. His voice carries urgency, asking if something has gone wrong. Sora tells him to be quiet, needing a moment to think. Asher insists that she untie him, but she knows he would not be much help right now. His concern for Sora, however, is clear. He needs to ensure that Shaka will see her again safely. Sora watches him carefully and realizes that even someone like Asher could care deeply for Sora. With a decisive movement, she jumps down from the tree where she had been observing and unties him. She instructs him to follow her, and when he asks where, she responds simply, to meet the girl he cares so much about. Asher, still processing everything, looks at Sora and questions what she meant earlier. She remarks that it's obvious he cares about Sora a great deal. He opens his mouth to respond, but she interrupts, teasing whether his concern might go beyond friendship, perhaps even desire. Shocked, he protests, calling the idea ridiculous. She only smiles, explaining that her curiosity comes from never having seen a girl pique someone's interest before. Asher quickly clarifies that he isn't interested in Sora in that way. Still, he presses, asking why Sora wants Sora brought to her in the first place. Sora counters, noting that he should have asked that before agreeing to help, and since he didn't, he should focus on his own business. Asher insists that he never intended to bring Sora to her, only to locate Shaka. Sora narrows her eyes and questions whether he intended to break their deal after sharing Shaka's whereabouts. He admits his priority was finding Shaka, but he also recognizes how much Shaka cares for Sora. He doesn't want Shaka to lose anyone else close to him. Sora falls silent for a moment, then finally decides that they need to take Sora to the village. She warns that the UAPI guy has his eyes on the girl, observing every move. Asher asks if she's seen Gusti and Shaka, but she knows it's too dangerous. UAPI has killed her helpers before, and she cannot face him alone. Even if Asher wants to help, she doubts he can manage it by himself. She inquires whether he has a bow, knowing he can shoot. When he asks how she knows, she simply tells him to get it, signaling that they will hunt the UAPI together. At the scene, the UAPI guy continues his bizarre actions, kissing Sora's feet openly. She curses him silently, finding it humiliating, especially as whispers ripple through the gathered villagers. He refuses to let go, making her more desperate. Then, from a distance, she notices Sora standing still, calmly observing. Sora recalls Sora's words from Kudu the night before. After the coming-of-age ritual, young people learn from Mother how to make a child. During the full moon, the tribes gather, and partners are chosen through a room selection process. First the men, then the women. Sora considers the entire tradition a crapshoot. Sora questions what that means, but Sora tells her not to mind. Sora continues, explaining that if the two people in the room like each other, they prepare for intimacy. Sora, realizing she knows more than expected, hesitates. Sora asks her to explain, but Sora, feeling embarrassed, deflects, insisting Sora continue with the task at hand. Helping her return home. Sora wonders why Sora is reluctant to explain, but she reassures her that Kudu's power can indeed send her back. Sora, however, suspects Soria is pulling her leg, dismissing it as a fairy tale. Soria insists she is serious. Then she shifts to explain the outsiders, the ones brought by ships and others brought by Kudu. She explains that the Tarira tribes trade with outsiders, and that Sora is not the only one drawn here by Kudu. Sora, skeptical, walks to the window, trying to take it all in. The Atu girl interprets her hesitation as disbelief or inability to comprehend it. Sora turns back, apologizing and remarking that if Soria is just spinning fairy tales, she cannot indulge her. Suddenly, a noise captures her attention. She questions whether the wall just moved. The Atu girl reminds her that she told her she needed Kudu, and now Sora begins to feel it herself. A strange, undeniable presence pulling at her, confirming that something extraordinary is indeed happening. She wonders if Kudu is really present here. It makes sense, she thinks, because of what Soria said. But the sensation is different. It feels alive, not like standing on mere stone. She hesitates, thinking they should assume it's true, but she struggles to accept that Kudu personally brought her here. The Atu girl observes her doubt and notes that Sora doesn't trust her. Sora admits it would be strange to trust someone she just met. She reflects that she had trusted Shaka immediately, even in this place, because of the countless times he helped her. That trust is grounded in experience, not words. The Atu girl reminds her of the moment she saved her when Kudan bit her and she bled heavily. Sora recalls that day vividly, seeing the girl in so much pain, yet Shaka insisted it was Kudan's blood, not hers. Soria wonders why he lied then, but Sora understands. It was a moment when giving up was easiest, and Shaka wanted her to keep going. Now, Soria demonstrates her own method of aid, and Sora feels a shock of familiarity wash over her. The sensation is almost exactly like that earlier memory, stirring deep recognition and cautious awe. Meanwhile, Soria issues urgent instructions. Get all the women inside and gather the men. She notices their hesitation. Without the strong men, her father having taken them, all others will be eliminated the moment they act. She can't rely on anyone else. She recalls how hard it was to finally convince Sora to follow her plans, and her jaw tightens. Turning to Asher, she warns that if the UAPI guy captures Sora and ruins her plans, she will make him pay. Asher steels himself, thinking briefly that he only intended to use the UAPI's bow for a quick action. His wrist is still weak from injury, and he doubts his own strength. He wonders if he can even shoot far enough, or why he's risking himself at all. Soria instructs him to only release the arrow when the UAPI guy kisses Sora. He asks for confirmation that the act will occur, and she affirms it. Asher swears silently at the absurdity of blindly following her orders, but he knows doing nothing isn't an option. The UAPI guy moves closer, forcing Sora into an impossible position. She struggles, trying to push him away as he attempts to kiss her. Heart hammering, fear gripping her chest, she braces. At the exact moment, Asher releases the arrow. Soria mutters that the guy hasn't kissed her yet, but the arrow flies anyway. The UAPI guy halts it, recalling the pain of a previous arrow wound and the memory of the Atu guy's injured wrist. Then, almost unnervingly, he smiles, scoops Sora into a firm hug, and bolts toward Asher. As he nears, Shaka intervenes. Asher quickly pulls Sora to safety while Shaka engages the UAPI guy. Sora, stunned, looks at Asher and asks if he's okay. Before she can process further, Shaka pulls her into his arms, hugging her tightly. Asher watches in surprise, then averts his gaze, realizing the intensity of the moment. But his attention snaps back to the UAPI guy, who has grabbed a rope close to him. Elsewhere, Sampo tends to Gusti's wounds, his hands working carefully as he mutters his frustration. He notes that they shouldn't have let Shaka go, not after finally finding him. Gusti, slightly amused, responds that she cannot stop someone determined to leave. She adds, with a hint of irritation, that had she known he was the type to ditch his friends for a girl, she wouldn't have gone through all the trouble she did to find him. Sampo finishes bandaging her wound and promises to make her a new necklace to replace the one the UAPI guy broke. Gusti questions if he's her mom, but quickly shifts focus. She insists they head to the village. Sampo reminds her that she had promised not to chase after Shaka, but she counters firmly. She's going home. He suggests she rest a little longer, but she declines, asking instead if he has any weapons. Sampo complains, worried that she's heading after Shaka alone, yet she merely tells him to get her a weapon. She reminds him that no one in the village will help Shaka. Sampo accepts the reality and goes to gather weapons, all the while regretting letting Shaka leave by himself. Gusti, sighing, reflects on the dangers Shaka faces, thinking he has no idea what she went through. Yet she refuses to let her efforts be in vain. She reminds herself that if Shaka is in that vulnerable state again, Liax will surely eliminate him. Meanwhile, Shaka holds Sora tightly. She checks on him and notices he isn't in a weakened state. thankful that he is okay. He reassures her, insisting that it's fine because he is here with her. Sarah advises him to leave. She doesn't want him risking himself for her anymore. Their attention snaps to the UAPI guy, who is approaching Asher with the rope he used earlier, intending to pull Sarah back. Pain flashes across her face as Shaka refuses to let go. The two men collide, beginning a fierce battle. Shaka's thoughts race. He needs to get Sarah away from this threat. He recalls her words that he needn't help her. But here she lies, helpless and in danger. Despite her insistence, he resolves to protect her. At the same time, Asher wakes, confused if he had passed out. Seeing Sarah beside him, he checks her and notices she is unconscious. A voice calls his name. It is Sora. He quickly asks if she knows where Shaka went. She informs him that by the time she arrived, Shaka was already gone. Frustrated, she curses him for not acting at the right moment. Asher apologizes, aware of how narrowly he escaped serious injury. The UAPI guy nearly broke his skull. Sora quickly shifts focus, noting that they need to get Sarah out of there before the other enemies arrive. She asks if Asher can carry her, urging him to move quickly, warning that her father will be there soon. Asher wonders if Sora is planning to hand Sarah over to Liax, questioning her motives and the urgency in her voice. Sora watches Asher, noticing that he hasn't carried Sarah yet. She asks sharply what he's waiting for. Asher hesitates, thinking about her instructions. She wanted the villagers to witness the healing before her father showed up. But with the UAPI guy intervening and Shaka already present, everything had been disrupted. Sora frowns, frustrated that the plan has been ruined, yet decides to wait until Sarah wakes. Suddenly, she spots Asher and wonders what he's doing. He pauses, sizing up the situation, before zooming off with Sarah in his arms. Sora calls after him, confused and irritated, questioning why he's running off. In Sarah's mind, memories of Kudu flash vividly. She recalls the moment Sora had moved closer to her back in Kudu, the coarse, horrible sensation that had shot through her body. Opening her eyes again, she realizes she's back in the place she had dreamt of when first entering Kudu with Shaka. The dream had not been a dream. Sora had told her to wake up, and now, seeing her conscious, Sarah is asked about her experience. She struggles to understand everything, but she grasps what Sora meant when she said Kudu brought her there. Brief images had flickered through her mind, showing her own head and the forest temple. Though uncertain, she senses that something extraordinary has indeed occurred, perhaps even a transportation into another dimension. Back in the present, Asher worries about what he's doing and what to do next. He doesn't want to hand Sarah over to Liax and contemplates taking her to Gusti and Sampo for safety. As Sarah awakens, he immediately asks if she's okay. She reassures him and hints that there is a way in Kudu. Asher questions whether she wants to go there. He's never been inside and had no intention of going. But he reasons that since no one is allowed in Kudu at this moment, it might indeed be the safest place for her. Sarah recalls asking if Sora truly knows how she can return home. Sora affirms it and explains that she has witnessed outsiders being sent back successfully. Sarah wonders if she must return to the shore first. Sora clarifies that to go back home, Sarah must enter Kudu. Sarah protests, thinking she has already been inside the temple, but the Atu girl explains that the area she must reach is deeper, restricted to the forest's tribe chiefs. Sarah questions how Sora ever entered when she isn't a chief. Sora reveals she went with the previous chief. Sarah pieces together that she means the Arya, the caretaker of Shaka and his friends. Sora explains that since the Arya is no more, no Atu can enter the inner part of Kudu. They lack a chief. To send Sarah back, they only need to establish a new chief. Sora instructs Sarah. She must act as the messenger of God and appoint her father, Liax, as the new chief. It's a delicate, almost impossible task, but it's the key to returning home. Sarah hesitates, telling the Atu girl that she can't appoint Liax as chief, her father, and she feels uneasy doing it. She apologizes. The Atu reassures her not to feel guilty, explaining that she has no real choice. It doesn't have to be Liax, but he's the only one suited for the role. With the former chief gone, no one in the tribe is as powerful as him, and appointing him is the only way to make things right. She adds that the elders won't accept Liax as chief, so the only way to secure it is through divine intervention. Sarah protests, asking why she has to do it herself and why the responsibility is falling on her. The Atu girl explains that she doesn't want to do it, and that Sarah has the freedom to leave at any time. It's not complicated. She only has to act the part. Once she does, she can go home and not get involved further. Sarah admits she's uncomfortable making Liax the chief. The Atu girl questions if it's because of what her father did to Shaka. Sarah confirms, saying she's heard of his actions and that someone like him shouldn't hold power. She asks why Liax imprisoned Shaka. The Atu explains that Shaka was to be sacrificed to Kudu, But since children cannot be sacrificed, he was confined in the cave until he came of age. Only the seers know the details of what Shaka did wrong. Sarah could discover the truth if she plays the role of God's messenger. She doubts she'll get the answers that way. The Atu guesses that Sarah is worried about Shaka's safety. She reassures her that he will be kept safe. Before leaving, Sora tells Sarah to think about her decision. She emphasizes that she meant what she said about Shaka. After all, she was the one who freed him from the cave. Sarah finds it hard to believe, given that she is Liax's daughter. Soon, Sora returns with Sarah's bag, noting that it's her final bribe. The Atu asks Sarah what she decides. After a moment of thought, Sarah accepts. Sora is surprised, but Sarah points out that there's no better way to settle the deal. She teases the Atu, wondering if she's getting cold feet. Sarah considers her decision rash, but clarifies that she didn't agree because of the bag. She reasons that going to a village and talking to as many people as possible will help her verify Sora's claims. She doubts Sora freed Shaka, but she cannot ignore that Sora did save her when she was in critical condition. Now that she knows she is in a completely different world, she has no reason to go to Tarira with Shaka. She decides to follow Sora's plan under one condition. She will appoint her father as chief only after Shaka is safe. Sora accepts. Sarah feels that, at least this way, she gets to help even if she's not going with him. She hopes it will make up for all the times Shaka has helped her. Meanwhile, Asher is still carrying Sarah. He notices her lips moving, but she isn't waking. He wonders if she's dreaming. As he reaches Kudu, he observes that the area is empty. There are still a few days until the full moon. He steps inside carefully, thinking his mother will be furious if she finds out he's here. He recalls a moment when his mother tried to explain Kudu to him. He had refused to go, but she insisted he listen in case he changed his mind, so he wouldn't be rude to his partner. She had even explained the steps a partner should follow after consent, though Asher quickly pushes the thought away, telling himself not to think about it now. He wonders why Sarah isn't waking and what he should do next, but he pushes the worry aside. He reminds himself he doesn't want to make love to her. Then, hearing a faint sound, he realizes that she might finally be awake. Sarah slowly opens her eyes and notices Asher looking elsewhere. She calls his name, questioning why she's in Kudu again. Her mind drifts to Shaka. She remembers seeing him at the Atu village, and she asks about him. Asher reassures her that he brought her here himself. Concern flickers across her face as she asks if anything is wrong, if he's hurt. He tells her he's fine, then gently asks about her. She touches her head and mentions feeling a bump, questioning what happened. He explains that the Uzapi guy knocked him out, and when he woke, Shaka and the Uzapi guy were already gone. Talking to her seems to calm him, though he barely realizes it. Curious, Sarah asks why he brought her here. Asher replies that Sora instructed him to take her somewhere, but he suspected she would take her to Liax, so he chose to bring her here instead. She notes that it doesn't really matter. She will have to meet Liax eventually. Observing the tension between them, she realizes that Asher and Sora clearly don't trust each other, even though they belong to the same tribe. She presses for the real reason he brought her here, reminding him he said he'd never been to this place before. He admits that he thought it would be safest since people are only allowed in Kudu during a full moon. Sarah confirms this, noting that she has been there a few times. First by accident, then with Shaka, with the Uzapi guy, and even with Sora. She clarifies that she wasn't there for the ritual of making babies, and Asher assures her he hadn't been thinking about that. She stands and asks why no one is guarding the place. He explains that everyone knows Kudu will attack any intruders. She interrupts, recalling how Kudu nearly ate her, but Shaka and Sora saved her. Asher listens curiously as she recounts her experiences, her voice flowing with more details than she initially intended. He asks if she isn't scared, admitting that he himself would be terrified in an unfamiliar place. She admits she is, but explains a saying from her home. Even in a den of beasts, one can survive if they pull themselves together. Honestly, she is just putting on a brave face, figuring it's better to act tough and find a way to escape than wait passively for the beast to devour her. She thanks him for noting that she doesn't look afraid. It's reassuring. Asher thinks to himself that someone as brave as her doesn't need the help of a nobody like him, and he feels embarrassed for earlier wanting to assure her he would protect her. He wonders if that's why his heart is pounding. Sarah notices his hesitation and thinks he's getting shy. She also reflects that while she appears relaxed and assertive in front of Asher, she knows deep down that acting tough won't solve her problems. Her thoughts return to her conversation with Sora. She realizes the gravity of the situation once more. Kudu is trapped here and wants to use her to escape. Perhaps that's why outsiders are brought to this place. She asks Asher to help her explore and understand the beast. She recalls Sora saying that people possessed by Kudu gain extraordinary powers. They become incredibly strong or heal rapidly, but usually lose control of themselves. Sarah wonders if she could escape from such an entity, and whether that loss of control is what happened to Shaka back then, though he eventually returned to his normal self. She worries whether it could happen again. Meanwhile, somewhere in the forest, Shaka continues his battle with the UAPI guy. Despite his skill, Shaka notices the opponent's immense strength. He can't overpower him. He knows he needs more strength to win. Suddenly, the UAPI guy speaks, surprising Shaka. He had thought the man was unconscious. In Kudu, a voice notes that Asher and Sarah seem to regularly venture into forbidden places. Asher tells Sarah to step aside so he can check inside, but she stops him from speaking and insists he wait a little longer. She reassures him that there's no one in the area. Suddenly, Asher notices someone standing behind her. His expression makes Sarah turn around, uncertainty flickering across her face as she wonders what to do. The man steps forward and demands to know why they both enter places they shouldn't. He jokingly asks if they came to make love. Asher quickly denies it. The man laughs, saying he was just teasing, but insists they tell the truth. Sarah explains that she wasn't aware the place was forbidden. The man shakes his head, noting that this isn't the voice he had been seeking. He mentions he's looking for a girl with a special appearance like hers. He moves as if to touch her, but Asher quickly slaps his hand away. The man observes that Asher is from Atu but seems different from others of his tribe. Asher retorts that the man also looks different. The man glances at him, remarking on Asher's hair color and charm, claiming that when the full moon rises, many women will notice him. Asher is confused, while Sarah wonders if he is truly that charming here. The man laughs and insists it's just a compliment. Meanwhile, Sarah notices that the man's long hair has a unique color and that his eyes are slightly unusual as well. Abruptly, he remarks that no one is truly special here, and they should stop staring at one another. He then introduces himself as Yahui, from the Sibakani tribe, and asks about them. Sarah thinks she's heard of the tribe before and notes that he seems familiar with Kudu's movements, perhaps understanding it very well. Yahui observes that they seem reluctant to introduce themselves. Sarah steps forward and introduces herself, clarifying that she arrived not by ship, but by crossing Kudu. Asher is surprised by her openness, but Sarah decides to tell him everything. She is searching for the heart of Kudu, and wonders if Yahui might know its location. Yahui suggests they move somewhere more private to talk instead of lingering where they are. He mentions he isn't trying to avoid her, but he can't discuss such matters in his current attire, so he asks them to wait for him while he changes. Then he walks away. Asher considers leaving the place as well, but Sarah insists she needs to speak with him. On his way, Yahui thinks to himself that if an outsider managed to cross Kudu, it must have been the person he noticed yesterday. Soon, he spots someone approaching, but he can't tell if it's the Atu guy. He decides to incapacitate them to secure a private conversation with Sarah. Instantly, he grabs the person's hand. It's Sora, who demands that he let go. Recognizing her voice, Yahui pauses. He recalls hearing it every night, though no one was ever in Kudu. The voice had become an almost daily entertainment, a subtle distraction from his otherwise boring life. He doesn't remember when he started picturing the person in his mind, but all he knew was that she was from the Atu tribe, and curiosity keeps him intrigued. Still holding her, he introduces himself. Sora is startled, realizing that the Sibakani people are currently in Kudu. She wonders aloud where Sarah and Asher are, but Yahui tells her that everyone sneaks into Kudu and she shouldn't ask so many questions. Then he asks her to confirm her name. Surprised, she asks how he knows it. He explains that he has known of her since she arrived the previous day. She presses him on what he heard from her conversation with Sarah, and he admits that he overheard it from a distance, though it wasn't entirely clear. Moving closer, he comments that he heard she is particularly curious about making love. She wonders what's happening all of a sudden, and whether Yahui is pretending he didn't overhear anything. She admits that she is curious and asks him what comes next. Although Yahui has lived in Kudu alone for a long time, this is the first time he's considered making love with a girl. He wonders what it would feel like with her. He tells her he can answer her questions, and when she asks why, he responds that he's curious too, just like her. Then he suggests they find the answers together. Sarah hesitates, asking what he means. Yahui tells her that if she wants, she should do it wholeheartedly. She protests that they've only just met. He counters that even on the full moon, people creating babies meet for the first time. She responds that it's because a girl already chooses the one she likes. He asks if she doesn't like him. She insists it's not that, but she questions why he isn't wearing anything. He apologizes, explaining he removed his clothing earlier. He persuades her, and she tentatively touches him. He kisses her, and she pushes him away. Grabbing his cloth, he asks what's wrong. She says she doesn't like him, so she can't continue. He requests to walk with her, but she tells him not to follow. He continues anyway, and she finally notices his hair color. She asks if he's half-blood. He admits it, explaining that he came to Kudu to cleanse the outsider blood and was approved by the patriarch. She realizes that technically she was the one sneaking in. He promises not to tell anyone so she can come here freely. Sora warns him for his own good. He won't be able to cleanse the mixed blood until he is unalive. He knows that. Then she threatens that if he tells anyone she was here, everyone in the Sibakani tribe will hear the story of him being naked in Kudu. She asks if he saw a girl with a strange costume and an Atu guy come by together. He denies seeing anything. Though the cat could track them, she can't summon it. Yahui suddenly holds her gently and admits that he likes her, adding that if she ever thinks about him, she can find him here anytime. Sora jumps down and walks away. Meanwhile, Asher watches curiously, wondering why Sora wanted to speak with Yahui. He notes that with that hair color, Yahui is obviously a mixed outsider who came by sea. She asks for confirmation, and he reminds her that many who come from the sea are considered dangerous. Soon, Yahui approaches them. He asks if he looks that intimidating, then apologizes for being late and keeping them waiting. He suggests they move somewhere else to talk because it's too dark here. Regarding weapons, Asher tells him his name and questions whether he can leave for a while. Yahui protests that it would be messy if other tribes learned of their presence. Sora pleads, assuring him she'll be safe in Kudu. Yahui understands, but he asks that she give up all her weapons so he can keep them. She agrees, and Asher remarks that if he can't find Yahui again, he'll use the weapons to infiltrate the Sibakani tribe. Yahui then tells Sora she can come with him. Sitting alone, Asher wonders why he couldn't decline Sora's offer. He contemplates what they might be talking about without him. He recalls hearing rumors about Yahui being gender fluid, but waves it off, deciding he must go back. Soon he notices movement in the jungle, heading toward him. He hadn't expected so many people to come to Kudu and is surprised by what he sees. Meanwhile, Sora walks through the forest, also noting the unexpected crowd in Kudu. She wonders when they arrived. Thinking about Yahui, who told Sora she could find him whenever she thought of him, she curses him under her breath. Suddenly, a voice asks why she isn't in the village but wandering here. She turns and sees a man with a weapon stained in blood. The man asks why she is in Kudu. She suddenly realizes the man is her father. A rush of thoughts floods her mind. What is he doing here? Does he already know about Shaka appearing in the village? Anticipation mixes as she notes that she needs to find Sora soon. Her father speaks, recounting the commotion that took place in the village while he was out hunting. She notes how worried he must have been. He hurried back and wasn't sure whether to feel relieved that she wasn't in the village or frustrated by the chaos he found. Then he adds that he hunted down the beast responsible for the mess, assuring her not to worry, and gestures for her to come see it. She can hardly contain her surprise at what she sees. Earlier, 2 Atus had been chasing a trail. One reaches its end and wonders where the person could have gone. Suddenly, another Atu drops from a tree and attacks him before walking away. Soon, Asher notices someone unconscious on the ground. From what he can tell, it's one of Liax's men, and it seems they were tracking someone. Elsewhere, Yahui notices Sora staring at him intently. He asks if something is wrong. She apologizes, explaining that it's because his attire is so different from what she's used to seeing among the tribes. She compliments his clothes, and he quietly ponders her words while she wonders if cool even counts as a compliment here. Soon he remarks it's a shame. Maybe if he had worn this earlier, they could have spent more time together, but quickly tells her to ignore that. Sora hesitates, recalling what she wanted to say when she initially approached him and wanted to talk to Asher. Yahui reminds her that he is, after all, just a stranger. She responds that she is the outsider here. Everyone feels like a stranger. She realizes how little she can do when she doesn't know anything. She either burdens others, runs away, or gets dragged along. She reflects that she turned a blind eye to everything Sora had told her because she was afraid to confront the truth. But now, discovering the truth has kindled something beyond fear inside her. She admits that she simply wants to understand this place better because it's the only way she might finally be able to act on her own. Yahui responds that while he may not know everything, he is aware of what happens in Kudu. He even mentions that he knows about the conversation she had here last night. He finds their plan intriguing, but adds that he will only share what he knows about Kudu if she lets him in on the plan to make her divine. Meanwhile, Asher calls for Sora, asking if something has happened. Yahui considers Asher desperate and asks Sora to excuse him for a moment so he can calm Asher down, noting that they'll need plenty of time to discuss everything. Sora, watching him, wonders if he's trying to use her the same way Sora did. Yet, she also recognizes that learning from him could improve her chances of going home. She notices someone's presence and asks who it is. Shaka steps forward, his voice filled with concern. He admits he was worried she might have been hurt and reassures her that the UAPI won't trouble her anymore. He reminds her that she said she didn't need his help, but he couldn't just leave her alone. Seeing blood covering his body, Sarah questions how it happened. Curiosity and frustration mingle within her. She wonders why he always put himself in danger for her. She asks why, and in his mind, he answers only one way. Because he is always thinking of her. After a while, Asher and Yahui arrive at the room where Shaka is lying, while Sarah sits close by, watching over him. Asher gestures to Yahui and asks for a moment alone, and the two step outside. Asher hands Yahui back his weapon, but Yahui responds that it's not the reason he was called, and suggests that Asher hold on to it for now. Then he admits that he was genuinely surprised that Asher asked for his help. Curiosity flickers across his face as he questions whether Shaka is really from the Atu tribe. Asher apologizes, explaining that he couldn't carry Shaka alone and emphasizing that Shaka is his friend. Yahui notes that Sarah seems familiar, with Shaka as well. By the time they return to the spot where Asher had left Shaka, he is already gone. Yahui wonders if Shaka was searching for Sarah. He notices that Asher doesn't really have much to say, but simply wanted to give Shaka and Sarah some space. Asher then tells him that he's going to patrol the area and asks Yahui to look after the two inside. He pleads, promising that Shaka isn't dangerous. Once Asher leaves, Yahui steps in to check on Sarah, asking if he can speak with her before Shaka wakes. She agrees. As they walk up the tower, Yahui notices her hesitation. She asks nervously if Kudan will attack them, recalling her previous encounter with the creature. He reassures her, explaining that he knows the patterns of Kudan's appearances, so she needn't worry. Sarah is surprised by his calmness and remarks that everyone had said Kudan's presence is the very reason no one comes here. Yahui explains that it's true only for those who believe Kudan is a divine lion-like god. In reality, it only appears when it spots prey. People once feared it for its abnormal size and for hunting humans and other beasts alike, so they drove it away by offering scapegoats. Now, Kudan only shows up at designated times. He adds that anyone who isn't afraid probably already knows this. Sarah asks about the scapegoats, and Yahui points to some strange towers of stone scattered through the forest. He explains that they are remnants left behind by ancient civilizations. She wonders if Kudan was left behind too. He nods and begins to explain that long ago, this place was inhabited by people who lived in a completely different way of life, but one custom has endured the test of time. He asks if she knows why the tribes gather here on a full moon. She hesitates before answering that it is to make babies. He confirms, adding that the gatherings are strictly during the full moon to select scapegoats. Back in the room, Shaka stirs and wakes up, blinking as he wonders where Sarah is. She reassures him that she's right there. He asks if anyone else is present, and she calmly explains that there are others helping her, so he doesn't need to worry. Feeling a sudden boldness, she leans forward and kisses him. Shaka is startled and questions why, and she simply responds that he's cute. She notices the redness spreading across his face and quickly clarifies that it isn't about needing his help. She only said that because she doesn't want to see him get hurt because of her. Her lips move to his neck, and she kisses him there. Shaka, feeling a surge of protectiveness and determination, murmurs that he doesn't mind getting hurt for her. He's willing to do anything for her and refuses to let her push him away. Sarah gently tells him to hold on, removes her own cloth, and adds that this time she'll be the one helping him. He notices immediately that something is off. Sarah is acting strangely, almost like she did back then. She leans into him, seeking support, and he instinctively holds her back, his voice firm yet concerned as he tells her to snap out of it. She reassures him softly, saying she understands what he's worried about, but insists that she will be fine and that everything will turn out all right. In her mind, Sarah recalls Yahui's words about the scapegoats. They were once believed to have wiped out the earliest forest settlers, identified by their inability to control their primal instincts. Contact with others had always been strictly controlled in the forest, and babies could only be conceived on specific days. People believed scapegoats were created through copulation, and the custom was followed religiously for generations. Eventually, scapegoats stopped appearing, but now they had returned, this time triggered by outsiders suddenly entering the forest. Kudu was the one bringing them in. Sarah wonders why it targeted her. She asks Yahui if Kudu is some kind of divine being. He cautions her not to misinterpret her presence here as part of some grand divine plan. Past outsiders were never sacrificed for anything so monumental. She is here simply to be used by Kudu. Yet, he points out, she can use Kudu just as it uses her, if she chooses. Turning her attention back to Shaka, Sarah apologizes, knowing he won't be entirely pleased with what she's about to do, but also knowing he will come back, just like last time. She explains that using Kudu, she can heal him. Then, without waiting, she leans in and begins to kiss him, her resolve evident in every motion. Meanwhile, outside Kudu, Asher walks cautiously, reflecting that he has no real reason to be out here. He had told himself he was patrolling the area, but in truth, it was an excuse to avoid being in the same room. He felt too uncomfortable. Shaking off the thought, he convinces himself that he's just here to make sure none of Liex's cronies are around. That's all. Suddenly, the cat leaps onto him, startling him, and Sampo emerges from the trees, questioning where Rang has been. Both are surprised to see each other. Sampo explains that he had sent Rang to look for Gusty, but instead it found Asher. Curious, Asher asks if Gusty is here, and Sampo replies that she had been with him a few moments ago. He confirms that she's hurt slightly but is otherwise fine. He explains that she ran off alone while they were heading to the village and he couldn't catch up, so he sent Rang to find her. Asher asks if she managed to find Shaka, and Sampo looks at him in surprise when Asher informs him that Shaka is currently in Kudu. Meanwhile, inside Kudu, Shaka and Sora are still deeply engaged. Sora notices that he has healed, but he isn't fully himself yet. After a while, she gently asks if he's completely back to his usual self, her concern mixing with curiosity. Shaka looks at her, and suddenly his body trembles. He quickly moves away, startled, but Sora stretches out her hand, urging him to come closer. Her voice is calm and soothing as she assures him that everything is all right. Gradually, he edges closer, and she tells him that from now on they will do whatever he wants. Leaning in, she instructs him to say her name whenever he remembers something, just like the other time. Then, without hesitation, she kisses him again, her mind firm on one truth. She doesn't care what Kudu is or how it uses her, but Shaka is off limits. Kudu can never have him. After a brief pause, she asks again if he remembers anything, and he whispers her name. Relief washes over her, mingled with determination. Somewhere deeper in the forest, Liax is speaking with Saria. He asks if she heard about the outsider who arrived in the village, and she denies it. He notes that she wasn't even in the village, and he can hardly believe such a thing happened while he was away. A flicker of worry crosses his face as he considers the elders. He fears they'll blame him for the chaos. He then adds that he has one more beast to hunt and instructs Saria to return to the village without him. Liex's tone sharpens as he speaks of the outsider, noting that escaping from the cave wasn't a severe enough crime, and now this outsider was brought into the village. Soria's eyes widen in surprise, but he interrupts her before she can respond, stating that he believes this incident may actually make it easier for him to become chief, and that he must thank her for her part in it. As he picks up his weapon, he orders one of his men to escort Saria back to the village. The man hesitates briefly and asks about the unconscious Uzapi, and Liax instructs that he be bound and confined in the cave, ensuring that his tribe won't find out until that day. The men nod in agreement. Soria thinks to herself, realizing that her father must know she helped Shaka escape and probably knows she met Sora, yet he isn't pressing her for answers. He reminds her, however, that she hasn't yet explained why she was in Kudu. She stays silent, unwilling to reveal what happened there. He teases her briefly, asking if she went to see a man she likes, and though she's startled, he quickly reassures her it's a joke. He advises her to stay careful, noting that with the full moon approaching, the youngsters are restless. Liax's tone softens as he reminds her of what happened with Thearia, warning her of the dangers of being with someone of impure blood. He stresses that she should never give her heart away lightly and must keep her body pure, emphasizing that everything he says is for her own protection. Soria recalls memories from when she was younger, the weight of her father's words pressing on her. Soon, he and his men depart, leaving Soria with the man assigned to escort her. As they walk, the man questions whether she understands the predicament they're in, pointing out that she tricked some of their strongest men, causing their deaths at a critical time. He notes that Liax has let her off the hook without consequences, and he asks if she can see how much her father truly cares about her. He urges her to stop causing trouble and to do whatever she can to make her father the chief. But when he turns around a moment later, Soria has vanished. Meanwhile, Gusty holds her firmly as she asks why Soria is taking those words so seriously. Soria looks genuinely surprised, and Gusty questions why she's so startled as if it were the first time someone had confronted her. Then, instinctively, she asks about the Sora, where she is. In Kudu, Shaka and Sora remain close, their intimacy deepening. Shaka, trembling slightly, admits that he doesn't want to forget her again. Sora reassures him softly that it won't happen. He urges her not to push him away, insisting she allow him to love her. Sora realizes, with a twinge of guilt, that she's underestimated the depth of his feelings. She had thought his emotions existed simply because she was the first person he'd met after years of solitary confinement. She had even allowed herself to indulge in these feelings, believing she would never see him again once she returned home. Now, she sees how childish that mindset was, how she had cried over emotions she couldn't manage. She doesn't believe love lasts forever, and she doubts that her feelings for Shaka are as profound as his for her. Yet one truth remains undeniable. Shaka wants to protect her, and she wants to protect him. She hopes he understands that. Her thoughts drift briefly to Yahui, who had apologized, noting that his earlier suggestion of using Kudu had come across too lightly. Sora had brushed it off, admitting she was considering it. In her mind, using Kudu fully to her advantage seemed impossible. But leveraging it to protect one person, that seemed feasible. Shaka encourages her to think bigger, offering to help her truly use Kudu to her advantage. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the forest, Sora refuses to answer Gusti's questions. Frustrated, she tells her not to ask, confessing that she doesn't know Sarah's whereabouts. Gusti reacts immediately, picking her up, and demands to know what she's doing. Sora explains that she's taking her back to the village. If Gusti can't help with finding Sarah, she isn't needed. Gusti seeks confirmation, and Sora admits that she had been with Sarah and Asher, but they ran off somewhere. Gusti sets her down and questions why they ran, but Sora can only shrug. She's been searching for them ever since. Gusti recalls seeing Liax's men dragging the UAPI away, and wonders aloud if the other beast Liax mentioned is Shaka. Sora affirms it, and Gusti mutters in disbelief, noting how far her father will go to capture Shaka. But she realizes this time it won't end with imprisonment in the cave. Liax will likely eliminate him entirely. Soon they hear one of Liax's men remark that this is the spot where he lost Sora, indicating she hasn't gone far. Before Gusti dashes off, she asks Sora what she wants to do. Sora hesitates, remembering her father's stern warning about never giving her heart away. After a moment, she nods, signaling she will come with Gusti. Gusti instructs her to hold on tight. Sora hesitates again, and Gusti warns her sharply that she must grip firmly unless she wants to hang like dead weight. She grumbles about her predicament, but Gusti teases her to be grateful it isn't every day someone carries another person on their back. They hear a voice nearby, muttering about footprints. Gusti notes that they're close, urging Sora to quickly wrap her arms around her neck. Sora obeys, and Gusti cautions her not to squeeze too tight. Her neck might hurt. She warns that if she falls, she won't hesitate to leave her behind. Tension spikes as a voice shouts, "Over there! After them!" Without a moment's hesitation, Gusti rockets forward with Sora clinging tightly to her, vanishing into the forest. In Kudu, Shaka notes to himself that this time, he feels everything. The way Sarah has changed, how his body has healed, and the strange energy flowing through him. His vision blurs, and he can hear her voice fading in the distance. He wonders if it's all connected to Kudu, and whether Sarah knew about all of this. A question lingers in his mind. Suddenly, someone calls his name. It's Sampo. Meanwhile, Sarah steps out of the room in search of Shaka. She spots Yahui and asks if he's seen him. He hesitates, saying he can't confirm, though he believes someone may have stepped outside. Sarah wonders if Shaka is getting some fresh air. She then asks about her clothes, wanting to retrieve them so she can go find him. Yahui responds that he has thrown them away. Surprised, she questions why. He explains that they looked unpolished and uncomfortable. She wonders if that's how people here perceive business casual clothes. As an apology, he promises to provide her with a better set. He leads her to a room filled with options so she can choose whatever suits her, while he sets off to search for Shaka. Meanwhile, outside, the two Atus are discussing the situation. Sampo admits that he's relieved Shaka didn't end up in the village. He was extremely worried when he left. Shaka asks about Gusti, noting that she was badly hurt. Sampo reassures him that she's fine. Her injuries weren't too severe. Curious, Shaka asks why Sampo is in Kudu. Sampo explains that Gusti became worried and suggested they follow him to help. Shaka then asks why she isn't here. Sampo replies that Asher is looking for her. Asher had told Sampo that Shaka was seriously injured and asked him to come check on him. Sampo remarks that Asher made it sound as if Shaka could barely move, and he's glad to see him doing well. He soon notices Shaka's neck wound is completely healed and laughs. Shaka suspects Sampo knows something he's trying to hide. Sampo adds that they will be safe here until the full moon, but they'll need to leave soon. He mentions that he has prepared a few hiding spots, but Shaka declines, explaining that he wants to look for Gusti and Asher. When Sampo asks why, Shaka reveals that Liax is nearby. He tried to capture him earlier, and if Gusti and Asher run into Liax, they could be in danger. Sampo offers to go look for them himself so Shaka can stay behind. He notes that they have to protect him. Shaka realizes that he finally understands how Sarah must have felt with him. Then he remarks that he doesn't need Sampo's help. Sampo is taken aback. Shaka questions if Sampo thinks he's still the naive, unaware kid from years ago. Sampo asks what he means. Shaka presses, asking why Sampo insisted on protecting him, as if he were still helpless. Sampo explains that it's because Shaka was wrongly locked away for so many years, and they felt guilty for being unable to help. Shaka echoes the word wrongly and asks how. Sampo mentions that Gusti told him Liax's influence had changed the tribe, but didn't reveal that Shaka had been imprisoned. He realizes that none of them knew the full reason, but Sampo does. Shaka asks to confirm if this is related to his rapid healing. Growing impatient, he demands that Sampo tell him or he will go ask Liax himself. A voice cuts in, questioning why Sampo is holding back. It's Yahui. Sampo wonders who he is. Yahui explains that for many years, scapegoats made in Kudu never had the chance to give birth because they were all sacrificed. Sampo watches curiously, wondering where this is going. Then Yahui drops the bombshell. One scapegoat gave birth to a child in the Atu tribe, and that child is none other than Shaka. Sampo tries to stop him, questioning what nonsense this is. Shaka, stunned, asks if he is truly the son of a scapegoat. Yahui admits it and is about to reveal the parent's identity, but a voice interrupts. It's Sora. She tells Yahui not to disclose who gave birth to Shaka. Ignoring her warning, Yahui finally reveals that the person is the late Atu chief, Thearia. Enjoying this story so far? Comment Sarah for part 3. Until next time, ciao!